Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 416. Just nailing in that 9:10 start for you guys. We're working with Missy Gannon, who's going to be joining us in just a few moments. Internet hasn't fully developed in Iowa yet, so
they're working on pulling those cables.
They are, no. But that was a little bit of the reason for the delay. But thank you guys for your patience. Of course, we're here. It's Tuesday night, so that means it's Smashbox time. And in fact, I think we're not even going to try and delay this anymore.
No,
we've got the champ.
Get right to it.
Let's have her now, Missy Gannon. Hey, Missy, how are you doing?
Hello. How are you? Apologize for the internet problem.
All good.
It's
all
okay.
Good.
It's okay.
We're gonna do our best, and we'll let the world know that. Of course, we'd love to have you for the duration as much as we can. But if it gets a little too choppy or unbearable for you, we'll be okay with cutting you loose. Hopefully, we don't have to. So, first of all.
Yeah.
It's a really sweet, kind gesture, but you didn't have to go get your hair all done up for us tonight. I mean, that's you're doing some work over there in Des Moines, aren't you?
It looks nice.
Thank you. Yeah, shorter than usual, but they've had this really cool setup at the challenge. A local barber and hairdresser came out to sort of give us a nice free service for all of us, ragging disc golf pro professionals. So yeah, it's been really cool, and I just kind of let her do whatever she wants, as long as it still put it in a little bit of a ponytail and wear a hat. Then I was happy with whatever she gave me. So yeah, I love it. It came out great.
Yes, certainly. And I saw your post earlier today. Normally, we don't go to something as superficial as looks and outfits, but
Right.
I saw your post today, and you said that you think there's going to be a number of disc golfers that might get a little cleaned up here this weekend. Now, was that the case last weekend? Because behind the Fly Mart, this sounds funny, I realize, but at the end of a cul-de-sac, behind the Fly Mart, there was somebody giving haircuts like almost out in a field, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but maybe this is something new. Is there any correlation?
Yeah, apparently there was also the same setup at Ledgestone, but I had already made the appointment for Des Moines, so I was like, let them take care of me. But yeah, apparently same thing at Ledgestone.
All right. So next time you need a haircut, just go to a Fly Mart, find a field at the end of the cul-de-sac, and hopefully there's somebody there with a stool and some clippers, and you get yourself a haircut.
You should have done that, Miller.
Don't worry about me. All right, Missy. So congratulations taking down such an incredible event, a 4-round event on 2 very different courses that challenge so many different facets of your game. This has to feel like such a well-rounded win, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if you're going to call yourself one of the best in the world, this is one of those events that you're able to kind of showcase every aspect of your game. And yeah, it's one event that I felt like I could always win, but never quite got it done. And even back in 2018, when I first joined the tour, Ledgestone was the first lead card I had ever made. So I don't know, I guess there's a little bit of history there for me. And it's always been one that I would always look forward to trying my best at. And felt like it was within reach. So to finally do it was, it was a really special one to take down.
Well, and we talk about things like flow state and in the zone and blacking out, all sorts of, different ways that people describe when they're, really feeling it on the course. Would you use any of those phrases? Did you get into that mindset or mentality, or was your mind maybe even elsewhere as you were, closing out the last couple of rounds even?
I think it was closer to almost what I imagine I always remember hearing like Paige and Katrina and people talking about like what it felt like to battle with on their card. And I think that final round, especially, I had no idea really what we were scoring on each hole. I just knew how many I was losing or how many I was gaining. And that was pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? So like it was a weird feeling. I remember walking from hole 5 to hole, like I was almost thinking like I was kind of shooting myself out of it. And I'm talking about that after hole 5. Like, how could I be thinking like that so early on? But I had already given up a few strokes to all of my card mates at that point, and I think it was I pretty much threw the best drive of the whole group. After kind of recuperating, realizing like, what are you doing? Count yourself out yet. You're on the box right now, but you're about to throw one of the best drives. And I ended up doing that and actually getting the only birdie on that hole out of my card. So I think the turning point, feeling like maybe I had to doubt myself a little to be able to push myself to cut it out and start pushing and actually get everything together and stop thinking those negative thoughts, I guess.
And it's interesting you say that as you talk about whether it's hole 5 or hole 6 or really almost anywhere on that course, because significant stroke swings, you think about a lot of holes where you're like, okay, somebody might 2, somebody might 3, we might see a stroke or 2, or maybe an OB, gives a 2-stroke swing. But we've seen it, unfortunately. There could be a 5-stroke swing on a hole out on that course. It could be a par 4, and you could literally see a 5-stroke swing. So does that intensify the feelings knowing like, man, this thing isn't over till it's over?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially feel like early on it was a couple of 2-stroke swings that had happened, whether they were not in my favor or then in my favor. It was really kind of hard to keep track in a way. It was I felt like everybody was gaining or giving on almost every other hole or something like that. And there was even one point towards the end of the round where I really had no idea if it was Kristen or if it was Paige, or all of a sudden I'm hearing about and Lisa on card. So it was confusing and really kind of hard to keep track of. But luckily, I have Tom there to sort of manage that part of it. There was one point where I was like, am I worried about Paige right now? And he kind of looked at me almost like confused, because it was like not even Paige at that point. It was Kristen and it was Owen and Lisa. Paige wasn't even in the conversation at that point. But I had no idea who I was worried about. So it was crazy. It was really.
Well, it looks like, okay. Yeah, you were saying it was crazy because you were unsure. And, one of the things that we've seen a little more frequently, or I know they've always been out there, but I feel like really this weekend they were more prevalent than ever, is seeing the on-course leaderboards as well being huffed around, I'll say. I mean, that's no easy task. So do you ever glance at that? Because that shows the score. I know everybody talks about whether they look on their phone or not, but then there's a leaderboard that's right there in front of you. And I know I looked at Paige as she was staring at it at one point. Do you find yourself glancing at it, or do you purposely try not to look at that either?
I've found myself looking at it more than I had ever looked at it before, because like I said, I was so confused who exactly I was really with at any point in the event. I knew it was mostly Paige during the first like front nine or so, but then all of a sudden it really wasn't her anymore. And it was Kristen I was having to worry about. So I looked at that about a handful of times, which is a handful of times more than I ever look at it any other round. I had been lead card battling, so yeah, it was a lot.
We, fair or not, when we talk about quality of FPO wins, the very first thing that gets mentioned is, well, is Kristen there? Is Evelina there? Is Henna there? You know, in addition to all of our top-rated FPO competitors. Does this one feel as tough as any other win that you could think of? Really, just Henna and Evelina aren't there, and who knows how they would play, of course. But this is this as tough of a field as you could expect to go up against?
I would say so. I mean, obviously, I feel like Evelina, had been playing really well up until Europe, and obviously, and then obviously she sort of got out of that early, really coming really, charging, and I think getting her game back to where we all pretty much back first. I think this maybe for kind of, Evelina was really gaining that momentum coming the year. But other than that, I think, yeah, the field couldn't have been really much more, much stronger, given that, Kristen had made her comeback. Maybe still not 100%. We've all heard her, talk about how she is cleared to play and all, but she's obviously still battling that elbow injury. So, but other than that, yeah, I memean, it's one of the largest fields that we have at Ledgestone, and yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine. I think so far it's been one of the strongest fields that I've won against. My wins, maybe besides the Pro Tour Championship, but that's a hard one to sort of compare to.
Yeah.
Well, you have an uncanny knack to win the biggest ones with the most money. You've got Throw Pink. You've got the Pro Tour Championship, and now Ledgestone. Are there 3 bigger payouts?
Yeah.
That's not a bad habit to get into.
Right, and even thinking about Des Moines Challenge at the time last year, I think it was one of the highest FPO paychecks at the time. So now that's sort of become standard, and if not more. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's okay with me, I suppose.
Yeah.
If you're only going to win a few of them, make them the big ones.
Right.
Tom Hanks, show me the money. I don't know. I'm just thinking you're waiting for those huge checks to show up, and then you're like, all right, I'm just gonna slide into the on top of the podium on this one. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of which, let's talk just briefly about the, whether you call it momentum or just nothing more than a coincidence that you're now in Des Moines. Last year, you of course won Des Moines. At the time, that was your biggest victory to date. Then you went on to win Throw Pink as well. But at the time, that was your biggest victory to date. And now, man, talk about riding these feels, the vibes, whatever the kids say these days, as you're rolling back into Des Moines and you've got a title to defend.
Yeah. Coming here was, honestly, to be really honest, it felt even more of like winning Ledgestone already felt like a weight kind of lifted off my shoulders, because there obviously were a lot of high expectations coming into the season in general. And, I've had a relatively successful season, in my opinion, but I finally have secured at least one Elite Series. Sort of feels like a little bit less pressure, a little bit of pressure lifted at least. So coming into Des Moines, having one Ledgestone right before, sort of lifts the pressure off of defending my title at Des Moines away. It's really hard to go and defend your title year after year. I mean, even the best in our sport have a hard time doing that, especially nowadays. So, I'm not really giving too much thought into it. Would I love to win Des Moines championships? Of course. Would I love to go back to back and win, last year and then this year? Yes, of course. But I do understand and realize that that's still really hard to do. And but yeah, coming back to this course, I have a lot of good feels. It's really cool to meet again and kind of see the progression of my my personal play, and maybe what I wish I could have done last year, even though it did end up working out in my favor. There were a few things that I was like, man, I wish I could have played this hole better or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of feelings going on, but it's certainly not like I have to earn this event. Although I am trying to do that.
Yeah, and to follow all that up, I think about the course you play at Sunset, very scoreable, a tad maybe on the shorter side, but very scoreable, and what feels like a little bit shorter. Then you go to Northwood, totally opposite feel, all these tight lines, and clearly you can score on that course, but very lots of opportunity for any kind of scores there. Now, so you have those two courses dialed in, you take down the Victory, and now compare and contrast that to what you're going to go see at Pickard. If somebody maybe isn't familiar with the Des Moines Challenge or what that course offers, set that up and kind of compare to what the courses you just left.
Yeah, it's it other than the fact that Sunset is on a traditional golf course, it has very similar feeling to it in the sense that it's got rolling, greens. There's water, there's downhill shots, there's uphill shots, there's left bending shots, right bending shots. It just feels like you're on this big rolling property that has beautiful hills and big trees and rough, but very fair fairways and extremely manicured. It's just a really beautiful place to play, and pretty much has it all. It has the wide shots, it has the technical tighter line. Like I said, it has right turning fairways, left turning fairways. It's just a really beautiful combination of everything you could really ask for in a disc golf. I haven't heard really many people not liking Pickard Park. Because I think it has so much variety in it, and it really doesn't cater to any one particular player. I think it's just a place that people really look forward to coming back to, and I think especially after last year having it come back on tour, and then people I think really were excited to come back to Pickard Park this year, and yeah, it's a really pretty property and has a lot of really good qualities to it.
And I'm excited for the world to see it, because as you said, it is so widely revered as just a great course for so many reasons, most of which you just explained. So how about on a personal level, who is Missy Gannon here, August 16th compared to Missy Gannon of August 16th in 2021? What's the difference besides all the biggest paychecks that you're stealing away from the rest of the division?
I don't call that stealing when you beat them.
That you're earning is a better word. Yes, you're nabbing them away from all of them. But what's the difference in you or your game a year later?
I think what was funny about last year is that I really didn't feel about chances here at Des Moines Challenge. I think I remember playing the practice rounds, and I remember thinking like, man, there are so many blind baskets, and what are they doing here? And I still liked playing the course, but I certainly didn't feel extremely confident about my abilities and how they matched the course. I don't know what it was specifically, but just a little bit of like lack of self-confidence or something. I'm not really sure, but I certainly it's also never played before. It was new to me, so maybe just a little bit unsure about my game. I'm not really sure what it was last year, but I think going into this year, not only do I have the confidence of being able to win on this track, but also I think I just have a lot more confidence in my shots and my shot selection and my discs. I pretty much feel like so many of the discs that I have in my bag right now, I have now had in the bag for roughly 2 to 3 years, especially some of my go-tos. So that just overall helps so much, regardless of the course that you're playing. I have a better grasp on my discs and my abilities with those discs. And of course, just ability to win on this course, even with the lack of self-confidence maybe that I had last year. So yeah, I'm really excited. Certainly I've played one practice round so far this morning, and there I surprised myself with some of the things that I maybe couldn't do last year. I found myself being able to do, whether it was being able to birdie hole 18, I think is a big one. I felt like I could not at all birdie it last year, and obviously that's not a very good thing to not be able to birdie the last hole of the tournament when that very well could come down to the last hole. You got to be able to score on it. So to be able to do that is just really cool to see the progress in my game.
So I won't let you cop out with the final putt. Not that I know you would, but favorite memory, favorite shot that you recall from last year's Des Moines Challenge when you took it down. Is there a shot that really comes to mind, whether you impressed yourself, whether it was just get out of jail, maybe it was a 50-footer to save bogey, I don't know, but
the putt on 18 to close it out? I mean, come on.
That's what I just said. That's disqualified.
Come on.
You can't use that one. That's the obvious. So, outside of the final putt, what's the shot you remember the most from last year?
Well, I think I didn't give it enough credit for how difficult the shot actually is. Because I remember rewatching the coverage for the Disc Golf Network, like a Wednesday watch or something like that, and Paige had joined me to watch my final round at Des Moines, and I think I had mentioned how hole 11, which for us probably a little bit easy, but that's what I said in the coverage, and she kind of corrected me and said, well, it's easy if you pipe your drive straight down the fairway, but if you're off the fairway at all, which is easier to do, I maybe gave it credit for, then you're scrambling for par. So it is a shorter par 4. They did actually shorten the basket a little bit from last year. It's a shorter par 4, get a dead straight shot, and still get a lot of distance off the tee to have a more comfortable second shot to what was then a blind basket. And I think I birdied it both rounds that we ended up playing, and maybe something like that, where I I didn't necessarily give it enough credit, but it definitely gave other people some troubles. So my tee shot on hole 11 um, might be one of. It's hard to remember.
No, fair enough. I can really appreciate, and I love the fact that it was through Paige and her version of what she recalled and how she interpreted it, and you guys watching, and maybe that's true. A shot you take for granted, you're like, oh yeah, I threw a good shot, you never thought about it, but then when you realize 60% of the field's off the fairway, and and scrambled hard to walk away with a par or a bogey or whatever the case is, again, maybe you almost take that for granted, and you don't realize, oh damn, that was a pretty good shot, and I made the hole easy where most people didn't. So I can certainly appreciate that. You just mentioned a slightly shortened pin. Any other significant changes that jumped out at you from last year to this year's FPO configuration?
Yeah, well, there are two completely new holes. That's hole 3 and hole 13. So both are very technical. Both are par 3s. I think hole 3 is going to be very difficult it's slightly downhill through the woods, a lot of trees, a pretty specific hit. I think long, very straight forehand, sort of has like a gentle, it has like a gentle fade, but it still has to like get pretty far out of a gap. I'm curious what a lot of people are going to do on it. I personally am going to, throw a backhand and kind of just hope that I, don't ricochet too far off into the woods. It's still fairway, but it's definitely a very specific line. So I see par being a very, good score on hole. And then hole 13 is a downhill hole as well. Also, you have to hit a pretty tight gap if you want to just, shoot the straight shot. But there are other options, potentially over the top, and then down into the basket's tucked into the woods and sort of off to the right. So again, kind of a very specific shot, and that one I being playing a little bit, being not as hard as hole 3. And then just a couple of other just slight changes. I think hole 4, it's no longer a par 4, it's a par 3, where last year we were able to kind of pitch to a landing zone and then over the water, but there is the big pond all on the right side, and now it's more like the MPO situation where you're sort of deciding how aggressive you want to get and whether or not that bird is something that you want to push for, and how to challenge the water to get there. I think it says that the clock's in at like 4:30, I want to say, but pretty downhill. And then I think on hole 11 might be the last change that I can think of, that the basket is no longer blind. It's kind of it's a little closer and on the hillside, so possibly making that, I feel like it's maybe more so for the MPO pad, because they were shooting from, they have like a very severe dog leg down the hill, and I think a lot of people were like really just struggling on that hole. A lot of people were trying to cut the corner and kind of going into the rough. So maybe it's more for MPO, but just plays a bit less and possibly makes that approach shot a little bit more touchy, I guess. But I think that's pretty much it, as far as I can remember. I think everything else is pretty much the same otherwise.
Okay.
And hole 1 is a shorter tee pad as well, so possibly a little bit more scoreable as a starting hole for us.
Awesome. What I was going to follow that up is, last year was the first year that we saw this as a pro tour event. Clearly the Des Moines area and club, well versed in running, top notch, high caliber events, but also great to see that even in its, right away in its second year, probably some feedback, some statistics, all sorts of things play into that. And then for them to, directly react and then make these changes, which everyone would hope and assume they're all going to be for the better, is just a testament to, the pro tour and high level golf week in and week out and what's happening on the tour. And I think we can all applaud that.
Yeah, I mean, the course looks great. I think I know a few players that didn't play last year that are out here this year. And even the feedback that I have either, seen on social media or whatever, people seem to still really enjoy the course. Even seeing it for the first time, even though it is, some last year, which particular players wouldn't necessarily know. So,
Sure.
Yeah, still seems to be highly regarded and people are excited to play it.
All right. And as we start to wrap up here, your signal continues to be a little bit challenged, although we can hear you, but we're going to probably wrap up so that I was going to say so your voice doesn't get choppy, but I guess that's on the internet. One of my questions, though, is relatively, and I know I'll put this in quotes, maybe air quotes, but relatively short commute from Ledgestone over to Des Moines this week. I feel like. Maybe expand on that. Talk about, what that feels like to have, this Midwestern jaunt, down I-80 for the most part, right? Any issues? Yeah. What was travel like for you?
Smooth sailing, no issues, thankfully. So far, the entire year has been very smooth for us. I know other camper lifers and van lifers have had some vehicle issues. We have yet to encounter any of those. So yeah, super quick. Checked into our campground. We're here, gotten haircuts and practice round in. So yeah, very easy, and I'm looking forward to getting another practice round in tomorrow morning.
All right. So with that, tell me, you get the fresh new haircut, safe, easy travels, checked in, practice round, more practice to come, winning the largest check of the year, going to defend a title. Tell me, how does life get any better for you, Missy?
It's pretty great right now. I remember what it was like when I first started touring, and I always think about that, and it always humbles me to remember, how it all started, how difficult it had been, and just being able to sort of, realize how much the hard work and the perseverance has paid off is I think just a testament to Tom just sticking it out and roughing it, and really grinding, as we all always hear disc golfers talk. I'm always humble, I'm always grateful, and I'm never going to stop pushing. So yeah, it's awesome, and I just love doing what we're doing, and can't wait to see what else hopefully comes our way.
Yeah, and by our, you mean you and Tom. And Tom, another big birthday shout out. I know he got the full treatment at the end of the round earlier in the weekend.
Rooms.
Yeah, that. But he also had hundreds of people singing to him after the round was done, and rightfully so. So big, another big happy birthday to him as well. A great, what an incredible weekend all around, huh?
Yeah, for sure. Very, very happy, and yeah, just looking forward to the next one, and just hoping that we can continue to have fun out here and love what we're doing, and yeah, keep hopefully talking to you because that means I'm doing good.
Yeah, well, you're welcome anytime. You don't have to win, but it may if you finish fourth and then we have you, some people might think it's weird, but you are welcome anytime. All right, so as we cut you loose here officially, please, get your plugs, your shout outs, your sponsor thanks, and then how anyone can support you in the ways that they could go about doing. So don't be shy about them. Share them with the world.
I mean, yeah, the best way to support me is through my sponsors. Everybody pretty much has something that helps support me. That's why I represent them. So, Discraft, go to Discraft or pick up a Tour Series disc at your local retailer. Also, Grip Equipment, some of the best in the market. So definitely go check them out. Also, Whale Sacks. I know I heard people talking, what's that thing that she holds in her hand and then, throws on the ground every time she tees off? That's a whale sack. That's a clay bag that's handmade, women-own business. And go check them out. I have some signature whale sacks on there. Ledgestone, of course. My first year representing Ledgestone, and I get to take down their flagship event, so that's awesome. And they have a lot of my gear and it's on their website, shopledgestone.com. And then finally, Good Seltzer. They're a really small seltzer company. It is hard seltzer, but they support helping children with illnesses and terminal illnesses find rescue animals and support animals, specifically support dogs to help them. So they do really good things, and you can find good dog seltzer. They're mainly in the Northeast and in Florida right now, but they're hoping to expand. So yeah, good dog seltzer, go support people. That's it. And Tom, as always, and all my friends and family.
Of course. Well,
throughout the entire season.
You certainly have an incredible support network, and I think the entire world knows that it's easy to support you and to get behind all the hard work and the energy and the effort and the presence that you put out there on the course, on and off the course. And yet again, we got to say congratulations on an awesome performance this weekend, and looking forward. I'll personally be in the booth. Johnny will be pressing buttons, but I'll be in the booth in Bend alongside Valerie Jenkins calling the shots, and looking forward to you going out there and defending that title in Des Moines. So thanks for joining us tonight. Congrats yet again, and best of luck this upcoming weekend.
Thank you guys so much. Hopefully next time I join you, I'll have a better internet connection, but I'll be back.
Next week after you win Des Moines again, come back next week from a better internet
spot.
Yeah,
you'll probably own your own cell tower by then with all the checks you keep cashing.
For sure.
All right. We appreciate you.
Right.
Take care. Good night.
Thanks a lot,
Bye.
Missy.
See ya.
Missy Gannon. For whether you could or couldn't hear her.
Yes. Thank you to Missy, and thank you to everyone. We understand that was probably a little bit choppy for some of you. I've got one bad ear, and if I can make out what she's saying, then I feel like most of you should be able to as well, as although it might be a little bit stressful on the ear.
Yeah, I want to just do something really quick. We're just gonna. What time is it now?
9:48
9:48
Central.
So we've been on for 30 minutes. So we're about to play an interview with Missy Gannon. If it's got some audio issues in it, and if you want to skip ahead about 30 minutes and skip all the Missy Gannon audio stuff, please go ahead and do that. Catch us on the flip side of that. I'm going to take that and push it into the front of the show and then we'll be able to people can skip through it if they don't want to hear it, because some people don't like it. I get really frustrated when I listen to a podcast with bad audio in general. I'll tend to skip it or burn through interviews like that. So I'll take that little clip, I'll move it to before, and we'll be good to go.
Wow, man. Producing,
live,
directing, and
I do it all.
Cutting and editing, all these things, all these buttons you press.
Car repair tomorrow, I hope too.
Ray says Johnny with next level editing skills. I don't know if it's next level when you tell everybody what you're doing. But
No, that's
yeah,
even more. That's like third next level.
Yes. Oh, you're playing like 4D chess.
I am.
What they say?
That's what I'm doing.
Has anybody ever accused you of being too smart?
Too smart for my own good.
Okay, but not too smart.
Probably not.
Okay. Just wondering. All right.
I don't know.
All right. So since we are talking all things Ledgestone, as I momentarily in talking to Missy was also seeing that she is now sitting, maybe she was there beforehand, I don't know for sure, but she is sitting in 5th in the Disc Golf Pro Tour stats. Hey, Johnny, I do have a great idea.
Next level stuff. What's up, Tara?
Oh my gosh. So to all my friends out there at UDisc, I just thought of this moments ago.
Have like the Nico arrows.
Have the Nico arrows next to the standings. And I'm sure you're going to tell me there's some really smart reason why that can't happen, but it would be kind of cool if it did. And I'm sure it would maybe make more confusion or not for people. I don't know. There's probably a key or something you could reference. But yeah, in looking at the stats, I see, of course, all of our qualified players and where all the stats range from 100 or from 1st to 194th on the FPO side. It'd be really cool next to the name on the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings page on UDisc, just have a little arrow, and that would imply where they went up or down since the previous event.
If we call them Nico arrows now, is that because someone got suspended? I'm not sure.
Ouch. I don't think we want to go there.
Honestly, and I'm sure this is something that's in UDisc's future at some point, I would love to see almost like a time slider on something like this, so I can literally go back and almost
see where they were.
So if I go back like, hey, week 1, you can see everybody kind of move around and the Nico arrows change based on where it is. Again, that's some next level stuff, but
yeah,
I'm not smart enough to do that. I don't know web stuff that way.
And I am not about to call you out, UDisc, but I'm calling you out.
We're calling them out.
Yes, we are.
I can't
Matt,
believe you
Josh,
don't have. Yeah,
you two brainiacs.
They'll probably have it by the end of the show now.
Yeah, and real quick, and it's a very fair question, and so we will touch on it quickly. Carolina Chainbanger asks, why are they called Nico arrows? And the story to that is that a few years ago at the Waco Annual Charity Open, Nico LaCastro had missed his tee time. He had showed up late to his round, and in doing so, he showed up, and then he received par plus 4, I believe was the penalty at the time, for a couple of holes. But then he started birdieing everything. I don't have the time to go look in when and where this was, which round and what year. I'm going to guess like 2017. No. But anyway, 16 or 17. Not the first year, probably.
Might have been 18.
Maybe. Anyway, one of those years. Somebody smarter than me can go research that. And when he showed up, I feel like he started just birdieing like left and right. And so you saw him with all these penalty strokes and was pushed way at the bottom, but then you saw him shooting up the leaderboard and continuing to climb. Now, clearly he had dug himself quite the hole, taking the penalty strokes initially. But then that was the conversation of like, well, we want to see how much did he move in the day. You know, where did he start? How high did he climb? And then next thing you know, UDisc had created these arrows, or maybe they had them in the works. But now you see arrows next to everyone's name during a live event, and that's showing the positions in which they've moved up or down, or not, if there's no arrow there. And so I feel like the impetus to the whole conversation about watching somebody move and wanting to know how many spots they had either gained or lost came as maybe a need, a direct result to fulfill that need of that Nico conversation. So nothing nefarious or negative in any capacity. In fact, it was quite a compliment in the sense that we were watching him shoot up this leaderboard, and making up the ground after showing up and taking those bogey strokes or those over par strokes. So. Yeah, that's where the phrase Nico arrows comes from.
That is where it comes from.
So, okay. Anyway, so let's continue with FPO action and talk about all the people that Missy did beat, which was everybody. She beat them all.
Yeah, she beat Owen. She beat Lisa Fakis. She beat Kristen Tatar, Paige Pierce, Alexis Mondajano, Katrina Allen, Madison Walker, Katie Tate, Alan Hanley, Sarah Holcomb. Those are your top 10 women that she beat.
Read all. I want you to read every other woman.
Everyone. Okay.
40. I'm kidding.
Alex Benson, Maria.
So.
No, everybody. She beat everybody. Congratulations. But those are your top 10 finishers. Own continues to impress. She was on a quite literally at one point I think on a bender earlier in the week. It was Owen's birthday as well. Someone said she showed up to the press conference and people had been buying her drinks beforehand. And
nothing wrong with a little soda.
Nothing wrong with a little soda before the press conference. But
I'm mad that I was in another part of the pub and eatery, bar and grill, whatever, Mashies. I was in another part of it as the press conference was taking place.
Mm-hmm.
So other than a few chuckles from time to time, from a distance, I didn't hear anything that was being said at the press conference. But it sounds as if I should have made my way over to listen to Own during that presser.
Oh,
she had a good time.
That's what Gary had
was
said.
Having a good time.
She was having
and
a pretty good time.
continued to have a good time.
Yeah. And Owen Scoggins was on a heater at the end of that final round. She bogeyed the second hole, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 birdies in the next 16, only to get stuck on hole 18 with a double. Ultimately, the double ended up not mattering because she wasn't be able to catch Missy no matter what she did. Even if she birdied that hole, she is still she's still 3 strokes behind Missy. So ultimately, it didn't matter. But you could tell Owen was frustrated at the very end of the round. Only because of that. And then she still had a great smile and a bow at the end of the round or something like that. So she, went on to shoot a 5 under par. Lisa Fakis, same thing. In the middle of the round, she was getting close. She was getting very close and then proceeded to go bogey, bogey, bogey to finish. It just, nobody was catching Missy. It didn't matter what any of these other women were shooting. Paige Pierce was the only one that had a chance, and she kind of ruined that halfway through the round when she took 3 straight bogeys on 5 through 7. After that point, it was just as long as Missy didn't implode, she was winning this event. And she proceeded, obviously, not to implode and play consistent Missy golf, which is what she does. So, congratulations to Missy Gannon again.
And I'm just now realizing it was, in fact, a tie for third. And I'm going to dig in just a little bit. Somebody can, I'm sure, correct me. I think that tie for third is partially significant for Kristen in that
she has not taken worse than third.
She's never finished off the podium in the U.S. No, she finished
this
fifth at
year.
Worlds.
This year at
Well,
this
is
year,
easy to check, folks.
This year, she has not finished worse than third at an Elite Series or better in the U.S.
Okay, I'm trying to think of a graphic that I saw a few broadcasts ago and thinking about, just how dominant and how much she's been.
Because she took third at, I believe she took third at Las Vegas, and then she proceeded to take second, first or something.
Not quite, but yeah.
She's almost only gotten better
she's
at
finished
Elite Series.
on the podium every single event this year that she's completed. She did have to withdraw from Toonie, but she has finished on the podium. And I'm going to go back to last year. Her 5th place finish at Worlds. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Her 5th place finish at Worlds was the only time she's finished outside of the top 3 in the last 3 years. I'm all the way back to 2019.
Was she even in the States in 2019 for DGPT events?
She finished 5th at the European Open in 2019. That's the only other time since 2019 to go along with the 2021 Worlds that she's finished 5th. And then the only other time before that was when she finished 8th at the PDGA World Championships in 2018. So, wow. I don't know how the stat lines work in Vegas, but to put Kristen Tatar outside of the top 3 is not a bright idea. Just, that's truly incredible. So, anyway, I know it's so dumb that I'm walking down the fairway, keeping my eyes on the scores, and thinking to myself, man, if she finishes in the top 3, she keeps that streak going. And I guess she probably doesn't even think about silly things like that. Maybe she does.
She might have that in the back of her head.
I know I was thinking that.
She had a little help.
So to see her tied to keep the streak alive is incredible.
Yeah, she had a little help from Paige Pierce, who unfortunately had a poor round. She shot +3, which is the worst score in the top 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Sarah Hokum had a worse score in the top 10.
Sure.
She took 10th, but
nonetheless,
that's what knocked that down. Although otherwise, she would have taken 4th, because it was honestly up until the final hole when Paige took a bogey.
Yeah,
she would have been tied for 2nd, which would have knocked everybody
Kristen,
down. Which would have knocked everybody else down. So Kristen got in there. Another phenomenal showing was Alexis Mondajano, who shot a course record 7 under. And we thought Owen Scoggins was going to come back and beat that almost right away, except she double bogeyed at the end to only go to 5. She could have, had she taken a par, she would have tied it. A birdie obviously would have beat that. But Alexis Mondajano, just a very consistent round, getting a clean scorecard with 7 birdies out there is such a feat. So congratulations to everybody. Let's talk about the men.
The silly men.
They're just going to rename this to the Ledgestone Wysocki Open. Back to back to back. 3 straight Ledgestone wins for Ricky. Kind of let some people get close at first. Corey Ellis was kind of knocking on the door, because Ricky 3 through 7, a bunch of pars. And then Ricky put his foot down on the competition and just decided to get a whole bunch of birdies, and nobody could keep up with him. Kind of ran away with it, as did just like Missy, actually. So he won by 4 strokes over Paul Mcbath, who, I swear, every time we saw Paul, he was having struggles.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go back and look at his scorecard, you're like, oh yeah, that guy shot a 6 down. Like he has.
Well, because
it's ridiculous.
You think of a hole like hole 4, that comes to mind for me at least, and I'm over there watching him, and he has a putt from about 45 feet, straight down the hill, a death putt. That's definitely going to carry deep if you don't connect with something firmly. And it wasn't the prettiest putt he made all weekend, but he puts it in from 45 feet on this death putt. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, that was to save a par, though. So it's easy to immediately be thinking like, well, what's going on?
It felt like a lot of times we were cutting to Paul, he was struggling. Because, and I think that might just be the fact that Paul makes things look very easy, just as does Ricky. And so when he's on the chase card like that and you check in, oh, Paul's struggling, let's show it. That's kind of feels in the control room. Shoulda, woulda, couldas, but Paul had 5 penalty strokes that final round. Without those 5, Paul's in the lead. But then again, maybe Ricky wouldn't have done what he did on 17 with a little
I think
more
he
pressure.
would have.
Well, I mean, again,
because I have a whole theory on 17.
I mean, clearly Ricky blew past the putt, went OB, blew past the
hit
putt.
Nana in the leg. And
who?
I should share it with you. I almost for the first time in my life posted a video with 0 editing straight to my YouTube channel. Ricky gets on the green on 17, which is clearly the toughest part of that hole.
Correct.
You get on the green on 17, and from there you're like, okay, worst case scenario, par.
Yeah, it's always inside of 30 feet on that green.
So he gets there, and you see it very clearly on my recording that I'm just doing with my phone, and you probably could see it in some of the videos. But he's just about ready and lined up and ready to putt, and then all of a sudden, directly behind the basket with no other people around, one older lady kind of just starts walking directly behind the basket. And Ricky pulls back. He waits. He stands down. He stops his routine. He stops and waits for her. She gets pretty much still right in his sight line, gets her camera, her phone up, and is sitting there waiting for Ricky to putt. If you go back and check the tapes, Ricky misses the putt, doesn't touch an ounce of metal from inside 30, blows past it by 30 feet
into the OB,
and it hits the lady's leg. And then he walks over there, and he's got a very easy comeback, relatively easy,
15 to 20 feet,
putt, and he doesn't draw metal on that. If you're crazy if you tell me somehow, in the silliest minor way, that all didn't work, Ricky.
Oh, it probably did. He probably, again, you put somebody on, Ricky at that point had it locked out.
Exactly.
You put someone on Ricky's heels, maybe he's a little more focused. Maybe he takes another step off and says, excuse me, ma'am, can you move? Or whatever he decides to do. I'm not, that's all woulda, shoulda, couldas. But very, very interesting. Yeah. I mean, we didn't.
Yeah. So
the funny thing is we didn't see this because I think we were off to the right on the broadcast. All I remember seeing is Ricky blow past it. I never saw the woman there.
Yeah. So I'm showing Johnny now. He's 2 feet above the basket.
Oh, it kind of hits her in the toe.
Hits her in the foot or whatever, and then he's got to walk over to her.
Mm-hmm.
He
well,
she's just standing there. She's still got her phone up, and I'm not picking on the lady, but I know mentally that something's going on in Ricky's head. He goes and has to reclaim his putter after
he's gonna walk right up to her. How awkward!
And then he comes back, and he's got a very, very makeable putt.
Mm-hmm.
That
he just
I don't even think he hits metal.
No, I don't think he does either. He just misses it. Yeah. He just he looked like an AM3 putting there for a second.
Again, he's got all the strokes in the world. It didn't matter. But if you said to Ricky Wysocki, "Hey, what are the odds you're going to give me that you're going to go bogey free today, but once you hit the island on 17, you're going to walk away with a double?" I mean, seriously, of all the trouble and all of the things that can go wrong on the Eureka course, for him to then 4-putt or 3-putt plus a penalty, I couldn't hold myself back. I was like, oh my gosh, I watched this all unfold right in front of me. So I didn't know what the live cameras showed or didn't show.
We didn't see. I don't believe we saw the woman because I think the angle we had it. She was probably kind of cut off because you just don't expect Ricky to miss that or blow past it like he did. Like, sure, miss, hit high, fall, hit low, miss, not air ball it past 30 feet. So, well, congratulations again, obviously, to Ricky Wysocki who takes this down. Third place. The kid he might be the most consistent golfer on tour. Gannon Burr.
Okay.
He can't win an elite series. But to hell if he's not top 5 every single event. And I don't know if he's going to, I don't want to say I think he's going to get one this year. I don't know if he will. He's going to get one soon. Whether it's the end of this year, early next year, that kid is too good and too consistent not to get one. And I know we usually wait till our after show to do our picks, which we haven't done in years.
Yep, that's why we usually wait.
If you're not subscribed to Alden Harris's YouTube channel, you are missing, I think, the best disc golf content on the internet right now.
Wow. Way better than our show.
Better than our show. Better than any other podcast. Better than shot by shot stuff. Alden Harris is touring with Gannon Burr, and I believe Isaac Robinson, and I think one or two other guys pop in or out. Alden, I think, has some of the best YouTube content. Have you watched any of his stuff?
I haven't. And in all fairness, hilarious. I don't watch anyone's.
No, it's hilarious. Like you talk about how Silas Schultz has great content, I think, on Instagram and stuff. I love watching Alden Harris's stuff, and it's now my life goal to get on one of Alden Harris's YouTube.
Dang.
They do a fake interview at the end of, I think, every event, and so there's like the Mid-America Open one was hilarious because Gannon he's clearly actualizing the time he took at the Mid-America Open, because the whole interview is him sitting next to Alden, who had just won, and Gannon talking about how he's going to penalize Alden for letting Gannon take so long, and all this stuff. It's great content, and usually the videos are like 10 to 15 minutes. Well worth your time. So
I'm now going to have to go.
You definitely, please, Alden Harris's YouTube. Fourth place, Anthony Barella. Just again, he's kind of like, he's not as consistent as Gannon Burr, but he's got all the skills, and I think at one point that kid's going to be able to find focus and put it together, because if his scorecard was a roller coaster, it'd be scary. It'd be a scary roller coaster. It'd probably make me sick. Fifth place, Corey Ellis, having another good season. Just the guy's an amazing putter. Matty O tied for fifth. Kyle Klein, seventh. Chris Clemens and Randon Latta, eighth. And 10th place, Calvin Heimberg and Drew to the Gibson. Those are your MPO competitors that placed well.
Okay, and congrats to all of them. Also, of course, a few other conversation pieces. How far did Kevin Jones? He eagled 16.
I heard he eagled 16.
Just hit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he was only like.
Oh, okay. I'm not thinking of the same hole. I was thinking of 14. I apologize. I'm like, wow, how far did you throw that in from? Okay, yeah, 16 is
a good. You hit a good roller.
Goal.
Yeah,
good roller.
Good roller. We've seen Double G in years past go past the hole with a roller and then miss the comeback.
So,
amazing.
Real quick, a number of other big shout outs and special shots. What did we see? GT Hancock with an ace. We saw Erica Stinchcomb getting her first ace. I believe she said in 14 years. Was it 11 years on hole 14 or was it 14 years on hole 11?
I had heard it was her very first
it was on
ace.
hole 11, so it was 14 years.
So.
Yeah, she's never had an ace of any kind. Not just a tournament ace.
Not a casual ace, not a second throw ace.
Nope. So congratulations to Erica Stinchcomb.
Not a brown ace, not a black ace, not a red ace, not a whatever other kind of aces there are. Not a skip
you've
ace.
Been maced more times than she's had aces. Anyway,
I've never been maced.
Sure. Nobody here believes that.
I'm just thinking how much that would
believes
sting.
That.
Just thinking how much that would sting.
GT Hancock. Who else had aces out there? There was 5 of them, I think, when it was all said and done. Also on the exact same hole 7 that GT Hancock got. Oh, Chandler Fry got an ace. Emerson Keith got an ace. Now, and that's where I was going with this. Albatross for Holland Hanley.
Phenomenal.
I was certainly concerned, and I even said this with Holland, and I said it immediately after it happened. I worried that too many people would immediately say, oh, that's a soft par 5. That's not a real par 5. That's not an Albatross. And she said she did see some of that.
I mean,
but thankfully, it did not dominate over the story of her getting it, because I worried it would. Because let's face it, we got a lot of jerks out there that just can't possibly be happy for things to happen.
Cool. Then almost any time someone throws one in for an Albatross, that's a soft par. Philo's is a soft par then.
No, I don't think it. No, I don't think it has to be.
If you can get there, here's what I say: if you can get to a green in 2 shots and it's a par 5, then by definition it is a soft par. And I'm not putting it down by any means. I think it's phenomenal. I think it is a par 5.
It is.
But what I'm saying is that's the argument that people have. Well, you can get there in 2 shots, so it shouldn't be a par 5. Congratulations. That's what it is.
No, well, when I looked, the last time I had looked, that hole averaged 4.92.
That sounds like a par 5 to me.
So that's a par 5 to me. Anyway, the point is, congrats to Holland.
She's phenomenal.
And then, thinking about, because I think that fell maybe on the day after, maybe it was day 2, but it had fallen on and come about after there were a bunch of aces. And then it was really an interesting perspective. I don't know if it was maybe Jeff Duquois from the PDJ. It was somebody I was speaking with at the event and thought, wait a minute. How much more unique is an Albatross? I mean, hole-in-ones happen every day, not only in disc golf, but even in golf.
Yeah.
All the time. And not to, again, take anything away from them, but if you're looking at legitimate uniqueness and rarities, the Albatross is so much more rare.
Yeah, I mean, we get an Albatross on tour about every 2 years at an Elite Series.
Is it that often?
About that. I mean, because we had Double G's in Vegas 2 years ago.
Which was an ace, yep.
Which is an ace. I mean, it's an ace, but it's still an Albatross. It's an ace on a par 4. There was Nico's at USDGC. Yeah, we see them about, and then I think 2 years before that, it's about every 2 years we see an Albatross on tour, like at a major or Elite Series. So clearly much rarer than a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
Which we see weekly.
Tom out on the board says Dan Schlitter got an ace on hole 7 at Northwood. So, yeah, certainly we're throwing that in there as well. So, number of aces throughout the weekend, but Holland Hanley's Albatross, very, very cool. So, congrats to her. worth a separate note for sure.
It is definitely a separate note. Let's talk about the big controversy on the weekend.
Which one?
The not so falling putt from Paige Pierce.
Let me check my video.
Trust me, I think everybody has seen it. We showed it a lot of times on the broadcast. The story behind the story is Paige Pierce obviously was lining up for her putt. She threw her putt, and then her left hand, she didn't fall forward exactly. She kind of maintained balance, but then used her left hand subtly and kind of pushed herself back. Kind of one fluid motion. It never once looked like she lost her balance, but she kind of had her hand there and pushed it back. Now, the tree was like literally lined up exactly with her mini. The back of the tree closest to her was behind her lie. The front of the tree, it looked like, was in front of her lie. Her mini was like right lined up with that tree. Now, again, this is what I'm seeing from the camera angles we have. And as we know, never trust cameras for distance, for angle, for anything. It's why they can't be used in rule calling. They lie. They clearly show things that are skewed. Just you can't
add weight.
They add so much weight to us. You just can't trust them. But I trust my eyes and what I saw. I'm going to go based on the video evidence I saw. And Paige Pierce called a falling putt. And she also kind of bumped her mini with her foot, which it was hard to tell if she actually hit the mini with her foot or a stick that maybe popped the mini up. She wasn't talking about that as far as I was under the impression. She immediately called herself on a falling putt. But as per PDGA rules, which are now bad in my opinion, you cannot call yourself on a falling putt. It has to be second. You can call yourself, but it has to be seconded.
Yeah.
And nobody saw. And again, I don't blame her competitors because it was subtle. And from where they were standing, it was hard to see her hand kind of brace herself against the tree. And if I'm a competitor, I'm probably watching feet or balance. Like, oh, did she fall forward? No, she didn't. Her feet didn't go past the mini. I didn't see a falling putt if I were her competitor. So not seeing that, I can completely understand. I don't blame her competitors at all. They get to the next hole. There's discussion about it. Because you can't call yourself on a second, at some point, Paige more or less says, hey guys, I want to take the penalty stroke because I don't want to be called a cheater. Because everybody in the world sees it. And I think she was probably having some sort of flashbacks to Utah Worlds when she missed the Mando over and nobody called it. Because nobody could see it from where they were. It was a funny angle. She probably didn't see it. Nobody else there saw it. But the cameras clearly showed it. It went over by a few inches. Jeff Spring steps in and says, okay, fine, I'll second the call. Which at that point, for me, in the control room, I immediately went, can he do that? Can he do it that late? Can he do it when he admitted he didn't see it? The falling putt. He obviously saw the putt, but he couldn't verify that it was an actual falling putt. At that point, then she gets the penalty stroke. It's put on her card. A couple holes later, they're continuing to talk about it throughout the round. Jeff is talking to the official as far as what exactly happened. At some point, they determined that that it was not the correct call for a falling putt because the tree was technically behind her lie. And so they removed the stroke. Is this kind of, am I right in all of this so far? And that's kind of that. That's the story. Now, the issue I take with it, a couple things, and I think if you asked him, Jeff would probably regret seconding it in the first place, based on because at some point something came out that it was, I think a statement was released saying that Jeff had temporarily seconded it.
Sure.
And then withdrew the seconding later, which I'd never heard of. I don't really know if you can do that officially, but there's a lot of the rule book I don't know, so maybe that's true. Maybe whatever. Because I think that sets a bad precedent in general, being able to withdraw a second later in the round for any reason. Imagine someone seconds something, a falling putt, on hole 3, you get towards hole 17, it gets really tight. I'm going to withdraw that second, and then you lose that stroke. That stroke comes back to you. Like to help maybe help a
I think
friend.
There was a deeper conversation with talking to the.
I'm sure there was
the tournament official in talking to him as to
correct
what the call would be, and then the tournament official can overrule or hear an appeal or overrule what's being called out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the tournament official had stepped in, who is not Nate, by the way, in case anyone's asking. It is someone else. And so the tournament official had then overruled it, which he had then essentially, and then Paige was, and you probably saw her on camera, thinking or motioning as if she had fallen behind her or to the side. And I think Paige was even a little confused as to what constitutes a falling putt.
Oh, for sure. I believe she was wrong. She was in the wrong to call herself for a falling putt.
It's kind of an interesting precedent overall of, I mean, there's so many other bigger questions that come as a result of this. A, should you be able to call yourself on a stance violation?
Yes. If it involves personally, in my opinion, if it involves an immediate stroke, I believe you should be able to. Because it used to be that you couldn't do it because you could then re-putt without a penalty
on the first
time. So if you fell forward purposefully, so to speak, if you missed your putt then fell forward, you could retake that putt. Now it's an immediate penalty stroke. I believe that the rules should be reverted back to where you can call yourself at any point on a stroke violation, because there's no advantage you take to calling yourself when you get an immediate penalty stroke.
Yeah.
There's just none. Like, if I'm in the bushes and no one can kind of hardly see me, and I throw a putt and fall forward, if I'm like inside 30 feet, and this happened, 33 feet, and I do that, but no one can kind of see it, I should be able to walk out of that bush and go, hey guys, I fell forward on that. Give me the penalty. I'll take the penalty stroke. I think that should be allowed, personally, now that the rules are changed. I agreed with the rules before. I agreed with the rules then with the change, but now that we've changed them again, I think that they should be reverted back to the original change. That made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that poses, of course, one of the first and foremost questions is, like you just said, anything that results in an immediate penalty for yourself, should you have to get a second on it? And then also, it does bring up just, I think, a bigger question of, like, if a rule or ruling is made on the course that is deemed appropriate at the time by either one or more players on the course, but then is later then wants to be either retracted or wiped off or appealed, like just making it crystal clear what those options and procedures really are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because let's put it this way. If you, I think about so many scenarios of you and someone else on your card think something is one way, it gets marked and played that way. If it's not under some type of
provisional,
provision or something of that nature, and then it's turned in, and then you can't come back the next day and be like, oh, well, actually, I mean, it sets itself up for so much more confusion.
I'm just curious how the official that made this call, what was discussed with him to make the call, because unless the official was on site, did they say, oh yeah, the Paige braced herself on a tree that was behind her lie? Like, was that told to him? Because if that's the case, then cool. I mean, I don't think the official watched the video.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
No.
So how was that information relayed to them? Because I don't know if any of them on the card realized. I didn't realize the rule that if the tree is behind your lie, you can brace yourself on it. I didn't know that. I thought you could not support yourself with anything other than the ground. You couldn't grab a tree or anything, but that's only if it's in front of your lie. And on top of that, it was interesting because, like I said, the tree encompassed her lie. It was behind it and in front of it. So it kind of comes down to that old myth rule where, hey, the tree...
Benefit of the doubt?
No. The tree's on the bank of the river and the branch rolls over the rivers, but I hit the branch, so the branch is really in bounds. That whole old wives' tale, and it's like, no, you were out of bounds. So I didn't understand personally that because the tree portion of her was closest that she was in. So I was completely unaware of how the rule was officially run, which is, I'm glad I'm not an official.
Yeah, it was a very interesting just unfolding, and I think it's an eye-opener, and clearly this has such significant implications. I mean, here Paige is trying to give herself a penalty stroke because that's what she felt like was the right and correct application of the rules, and then later they're having a more detailed conversation and then realizing, wait, I was either misinterpreting or misapplying this rule, and let's get it straightened out now. And of course, they wanted to do it then on, I think it was 15, the second time. The issue happened on 11.
Correct.
And I don't remember what hole, maybe it was 13, I don't remember. But they wanted to get it figured out just in case this thing came down to a stroke or two difference on the final hole. Now, as we determined with Paige relative to Missy, that didn't matter.
Missy squished her.
But you clearly don't want this lingering, because they could be both staring at approach shots on the tee of 18,
wondering,
unknowing how this might get called later. I think the other lesson that was definitely learned here was there was almost this odd pressure of, well, let's make a call and worry about it later when it was first discussed on the tee of 12 or right after 11. It happened on 11, and I think in hindsight there should have been a longer, lengthier discussion, especially considering they're the last group of the day. But I think everyone feels like, wait, we should have nailed this the very first time rather than going to the next tee, having the conversation, and then almost... They didn't table it by any means, but they made a decision that might have been a little in haste. I think that was the big takeaway.
I think there was clearly there was pressure. And let me just say this. The score ended up as the right score. What happened was correct in the long run. But at the end of the round, what Paige got what she, quote unquote, deserved to get, the score that she earned. I just think there was a lot of pressure from Paige for someone to make that call, because she had even kind of hinted at a courtesy violation for her card mates for not watching.
Yeah,
and again, I don't think it would have ever come to that. But
no, but she, in light of her wanting the correct application and maybe a little bit of frustration, that's when you heard her utter something along the lines of, well, maybe I should give you guys all warning for not watching me.
But that's just it. Like, as when I said, and I think that was a little hasty on Paige's part. I think she was a little frustrated.
Yeah, she
clearly,
was,
and I can understand
being a little hyperbolic. I think
because of the past history of things that people have said about her, whether it's that call from Utah Worlds, or I know people have freeze framed her jump putts and things like that. So there's a history of this with internet people.
Either way,
yeah, I don't have. I hope this changes or clears up, or again points to something with the rules that we can fix. I think that's. I think that is a good, and I don't blame her. Like I said, from Paige's perspective, I don't blame her competitors, man. It was hard to see. It was hard to see her balance on that tree, push herself off slightly with her left hand. It almost didn't even look like, I didn't notice she did it on the first putt. I had to go back when we watched it in replay and see that, yes, it was her left hand, about just about waist high, that kind of touched the tree.
Yeah.
You couldn't even tell if she pushed herself back from it or if it just rested there. So I don't blame. I'm the first, not the first, but I'm one of the people that are like, yeah, you should definitely, as a competitor, be watching your players, watching other players and what they're doing and what they're throwing and this and that. You could have watched her twice or three times and not seen that. So yeah. I don't blame the competitors.
It is tough, and I know we always beat this horse of, that's why we need
Marshals
on every single hole.
Some guy named Marshall.
Every single shot, every single hole. In this case, Jeff Jacqua had said, he's like, I had two cameramen directly in front of me. I didn't see what she was referencing. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, everybody's always going to be blocked. Of course, they want to be seeing the action. But there's going to be times where somebody moves into place. Next thing you know, whether it's a cameraman or a spotter or a scorekeeper or a caddy, yeah, you might not be in the perfect position. Or even just like as a camera person, I think about like, I would have loved to have moved about 6 inches or 12 inches from where I was to get the shot that I was getting. But Paige was set up and ready to go at that point. I'm like, well, I'm not moving, so this is the shot I get. So it's there's going to be a human element no matter to what we're doing out there. Clearly, we want to always get the right and the best correct calls, but you could put two marshals on every single hole, and I'm not sure we're not going to. I'm sure we're still going to have oddities that come up from time to time. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Well, let's quickly we can jump off of all of Ledgestone. Congrats to all of the players. I think when it was all said and done.
Congrats to the TD. Congrats to
2,200-ish competitors.
Yeah, $150,000 raised for St. Jude.
To clarify. Raised and then split among a number of charities.
Correct.
St. Jude being one of them, Paul Mcbath Foundation being one of them. I believe Edge was also a recipient in some capacity. I don't know the exact division of how they were all split. I don't care if one of them got $149,000 and the other two each got $500. I don't personally care. I don't know the details. Nonetheless, I think Nate and the event, if I recall, has now prior to this week had already given a cumulative total of something like $320,000 to St. Jude. So I'm guessing he didn't say, oh, here's $900 this year, $900 this year. So I don't know how it got divided up. It really doesn't matter. I saw somebody almost hinting at some negativity around worrying about the split and around worrying about the $150,000 and the various, how equitable the distribution was or wasn't. I'm not going to say go jump in a lake, but what a problem for us to be arguing about on the internet, right? Well, where's that $150,000 going among those three nonprofit charities when
I want the receipts.
99% of tournaments, 99.9% of tournaments don't have a total budget of $150,000, and the Ledgestone crew this year donated $150,000 just to charities. I said this to Nate's mom.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
No, we were talking. She genuinely had asked as we were kind of packing some things up on Sunday, and she's like, it's really cool, this and that. And I said, it's amazing. I said, I worry, Nate, with what the Ledgestone event has done in this $320 or now almost $500,000 total. I worry it almost that he's desensitized us, because I think about a $5 or a $10 or a $50,000 check going to any organizations and how insane that is for normal disc golf. And now for him and the event to be giving multiple years worth that are totaling over six figures, I think he's almost desensitized people. Like,
correct. No,
this is not normal, people. I can't scream this loud enough. This is not normal.
That we saw that, it was a big deal. Oh my God, look how much money he's donating to charity. The second year, it was like, oh, cool, he's got another big check. This year, I felt like it was hardly mentioned. We cut in, literally, we watched it in picture. A bunch of cute kids, a check being handed to somebody while commercials were playing. That's how desensitized we are to it. And whether that's our fault, the media's fault for not pumping that up more, whether it's Nate's fault for not promoting it more, whether it's just everybody's fault for not caring enough, I don't know where the blame is supposed to be thrown. If there should be any blame, I'm going to say this, should we be celebrating that? I think, of course, it's always great too. But in general, like, cool that these are big accomplishments. This is great. It's unfortunate for Nate, but this has now become old hat for him. It's like, cool, yeah, Nate is donating another big check to a bunch of needy kids.
I'll just say, I absolutely will just say it's insane. I think about years and years of running small to medium-sized tournaments, and if I added up 5 or 8 or 10 years of hosting tournaments, my entire event operating budget has not equaled $150,000. So to know that is entirely a charitable donation from one single year is absolutely just incredible. So I did want to get that in there.
Huge shout out to Nate.
Yeah, and everyone from the Ledgestone crew, and that includes the local St. Jude hospital that sends people over to help staff some of the event, to then help take donations and to help run raffles and to do those things. And then they're there in a number of, they're not just there to show up and collect a check, although that's, the warm and fuzzies. They're also there doing a number of other things throughout the week. So just crazy. I guess maybe another bigger question for another day is 9 or 11 or 15 courses and 2,200 people. Is that just too much of a I don't want to say carnival? Is that just too much of an affair and a undertaking in the first place? But I think that's a longer story for another day. So, and then also maybe within regular news, and maybe it's after show worthy as well. But just a couple hours ago, Paul Mcbath throwing out a first pitch at the Chicago White Sox game tonight. Of course, we saw that just a few weeks ago.
Have you seen the pitch?
Yes, it was.
I was gonna say, first of all, I was gonna have you guess. Did he get it to the catcher? Now, Paul is a former standout high school baseball player, I believe.
Yes.
But usually they don't let you take the mound. So sometimes, did the catcher catch it? Unlike Ricky's.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me the details, Terry.
I think it would be cool for us to even show it at some point. But
I'd have to find it.
Yeah, it was. So he had run out to the mound, and this is, I think, from maybe Hannah's perspective. But he ran out to the mound and threw the pitch, through what looked to be a really solid pitch. From what I could see of the catcher, he indicated as if it was a strike. I don't know if he just does that for everybody. But he goes out there, throws the pitch. And then shortly up on the jumbo screen is a 20 or 30 second Paul Mcbath disc golf montage.
Oh, he nailed it. He went straight down home plate.
Yeah, it was a solid looking pitch. And then, like I said, on the jumbotron, they show a montage of various Paul Mcbath shots and ends with
make moves.
So and then immediately I started thinking, well, is there any branding or advertising that, that's why it was relative. I don't want to say it wasn't bland. It was a well put together couple of shots, but there was no major pro tour or discraft. You got to wonder if there's just some other rights or branding or something
that I don't know, but
it was limited.
I'd be willing to bet that this had a lot to do with Dylan Cease.
You think?
Yeah. Who is a pitcher? Well, I'm explaining it for the listeners.
Okay.
Who is a pitcher for the White Sox, a friend of Paul Mcbath, who came to the Celebrity Pro event last year, did not make it this year due to the timing, and is a very avid disc golfer and a very good one at that, nonetheless. So, and honestly, right now, probably the best pitcher in the major leagues, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so, and as you were just saying, Ricky Wysocki over at the Cincinnati Reds game a few weeks ago, just before the Idlewild, also had thrown out a first pitch. So kind of cool to see our top-level athletes out there getting this really cool honor to be able to do.
Other disc golfers in the news, so to speak, Ricky Wysocki got a shout-out on the Pat McAfee show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of the Pat McAfee show in general.
Okay. What is it like for the listeners?
I mean,
How would you describe? What's the?
It feels like, I mean, it's an interview / call-in show. I mean, radio / internet based. Very much a. I mean, it feels very much of the right now internet, like how it's produced and things like that. I don't. Pat McAfee does a lot of. I just don't like his personality, I think.
Oh. Okay.
Like I think the show is fine. He has good interviews.
Smashbox isn't getting any shout-outs anytime soon.
Aaron Rodgers comes on all the time because I think he's friends with Pat McAfee. And he gets all sorts of great interviews, and he's very knowledgeable. I just don't like just the style. Just it doesn't suit me. Just doesn't suit me. So, but either way, somebody called in and more or less disc golf came up right away, and the guy who talked about it a little off in some of his facts, as he'd say, he's like, yeah, I think Paul Mcbath is like a 6-time world champ and Ricky's 3-time, and I'm like, nope, you missed them both, buddy.
One he's given more than they are, so that's good. At least he's not undercutting.
He's not shortchanging. And Pat McAfee just kept asking, like, well, what's your rating? And as our ratings are, it's hard to describe to someone who doesn't understand how ratings are. Like,
sure.
I'm because when the guy's like, I'm like a 900 rated player, and Pat McAfee's like 900, and it's like, wow, that's big. And it didn't really seem to flow through when it was like, well, no, the best guys are like 1,050 and 1,040, and where the difference between 900 and, because if you go 0 to 900, that's a huge gap, but 900 to 1,050, that's only 150 points when really
it's a world of
difference.
That's
the world of difference. So I think our rating system is very difficult to explain to people. Either way, a few shout outs of some disc golfers' names as they brought up a ranking list. And of course, Ricky was at the top of it. There was a talk about Ricky being from Ohio, and they scrolled through and mentioned some other names, which was kind of cool. So that is other disc golfers in the news.
Okay. I want to read a few something quick, just hot off the presses from our friend Dinko over in Varazdin, Croatia. He says, and I knew of this going down, but I'm going to just read exactly what he sent me, which is the WFDF, World Flying Disc Federation World Team Disc Golf Championship starts today in Varazdin, Croatia. Beautiful town. I've been there. Competing national teams are Australia, Canada, Colombia, USA, and 21 European nations. Each team consists of 6 to 12 players. So this is one of the largest meetups of disc golfers from all over the world. A great experience for all competitors. USA represented by Sabrina Williams, Dana Litt, Finney Buchanan, Billy Lund. They let him out of the country? Billy. Chris Villa, and Kevin Gleason, who just celebrated his birthday, I believe, yesterday. Support your team and find out some lovely photos on the event Parade of Nations and then they put a link out there, which I'll share as well. Round 1 matches start today, and the USA is in Pool D with Austria, Croatia, Colombia, Hungary, and Switzerland. Top 4 teams from all 4 pools move to the knockout second stage, and new world champions, Finland is reigning champion, will be announced on Saturday. So
listen, boys
very
and girls, cool. You don't win this, don't come home. I'm just saying.
Yes. I'm gonna put that in our chat.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's pretty cool.
I'm just gonna take a guess. Never seen the movie. Is that Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams? Is that a reference?
No, it's not a reference to anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought there was some reference there.
No, I mean maybe it isn't. I subtly
you just stole it.
I stole it and I don't realize it. But yeah, no, it's just a joke. If you don't win, don't come home. Other PDGA news.
Wait, that's from Armageddon, isn't it?
Well, they weren't coming home if they didn't win. PDGA announces several annual awards. Is the headline. The Volunteer of the Year, Mark Stevens. Maybe it's Steffens, but I'm pretty sure it's Stevens.
So we just saw at D-Glow a few weeks ago.
Correct. The Brent Hambrick Tournament Director of the Year, Tim Barr. Congratulations. The 2021 Bob West Sportsman Award, Paul Ulibarri. Congratulations, Paul. Those are your 3 awards that were handed out today. So congratulations to all 3 of your winners.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it earlier in the day, but we should have a running weekly update on our both Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year candidates and those runnings. I know that Emily Beach, last time I had looked, was way out as a front runner.
She's locked up. She can't
in the
lose.
FPO
I think
Rookie of the Year.
Unless she literally maybe didn't show up and somebody else came back. Some other rookie won a few events. I don't believe Emily Beach can lose it. I think she's officially, statistically locked it up, is what I heard.
Well, geez.
So sorry, other ladies.
Okay. Either way. Maybe that's a reoccurring theme that we can have moving forward, is giving you some of those updates as the year already is into August. Wow, that feels crazy in itself. All right, John, do we have anything else for this regular show?
I don't believe we do, Terry Miller.
We're going any more off the rails? Ray out there?
We've been pretty on point today, Terry.
Yeah. Ray out there says he's got topics. He's been scouring and scurrying all over the internet to give us topics that apparently need more discussing. So, Ray, I hope you've got them, and I hope that we can talk about them in the after show as you slowly feed them to us, because we don't do real work here.
No, that's what we rely on Ray for.
But doing real work was Missy Gannon this weekend, along with the Ledgestone crew. So congratulations to anyone and everyone involved on every level. I think of big-time listeners and Hall of Famer Tom McManus, who was out there hustling around at the Eureka course. I think it was something like more than 200 volunteers and 85 staff members, or upwards of 85 staff members, to pull off this event. So just can't say it enough. Take a deep breath, relax, enjoy whatever it is you need to do to simmer down after this incredible weekend to all of you. Congrats. 3-time champion now in Ricky Wysocki, and also congrats, of course, to Missy Gannon. This has been podcast 416. That's Johnny V. I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We're going to stand down for just a few moments to take a quick break. We'll be back with the after show for some more disc golf and non-disc golf related topics. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 416's After Show.
It's official. It's the after show.
Here we are in the after show.
Time to get relaxed.
Yeah, so the after show, if somehow you're new here, can be disc golf related, or more likely, some of our live chatters have submitted a few conversation pieces or topics that they would like us to either answer or expand upon, or sometimes it can just somewhat get off the rails into anything that comes to mind for Johnny V or myself. So if you got sweet after show topics that you want to bring, feel free.
Ray brought up one during the show.
Okay.
How come Ledgestone gets to be a Elite Series event when there are 9 holes we can't cover. And we look at some of the other events like Masters Cup and Beaver State. They don't get to be Elite Series events.
Okay. Fair.
I think
Fair question.
Fair question. You want me to answer?
You or I don't care.
So,
you or I.
I mean, there's probably a lot of reasons. One, Nate Heinold. He raises a lot of money. His event has the biggest purse. He is a longtime member of the Elite Series events and Disc Golf Pro Tour. We have 2 courses, so 36 holes, and only I'm going to throw that in quotes, 9 of them can't be covered. And things are getting better. We actually had a lot when the 9 holes were not being covered. We did have a camera live on them, so we could watch them from the control room. And for the most part, some of them were okay. There were, I would say, 2 holes, maybe 3, that were virtually uncoverable just because of how deep they get into the woods and how low it gets. And so it just wouldn't work for those particular holes. Why isn't Beaver State Fling and Masters Cup on the Elite Series? That I don't know. Masters Cup is difficult to cover. So it's, and again, things change every year. Next year we could go out and do tests and, oh, look, they put up a new tower and things could work out. But not being able to cover any holes or even a third of them kind of eliminates you from being that. And that's the way Masters Cup has been. Beaver State Fling this past year, we were able to cover a handful,
the whole
course,
round,
the whole course on one
round,
side of the course, basically the west course.
One of the 2 courses.
Yeah, I think the east course was not coverable. So, that's kind of what it breaks down to. I mean, ultimately, we would love nothing more at Well, we're gonna get real here, folks. From the control room's perspective, we would love nothing more than to never cover Northwood again. Ever.
Specifically because...
Not once, ever, not one single hole on that course, because it's a 5.5-hour round of backups. That's why. That's from the control room perspective. It's a great course. It is an elite course. It is a difficult course. Players like it. Control room hates it. It's hiking up and down these giant... up and down these hills and in the woods, and it's usually hot and muggy, and our cameramen, it's difficult to cover because players go all over that course. They kick to every single direction. So even if you had 3 cameras on every player, I still think you would miss shots because of just how difficult it is live. So as from a control room perspective, I would love it if we never set foot on that course again. And there's some of it we can't cover. If I was a player, I would be upset if that course wasn't on the tour, because I think it's a very good course that challenges almost every aspect of your game, physically, mentally, and skill-wise. So I'm going to throw both of those things out. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to a lot of Nate Heinold, I think, being a huge supporter of the tour from day one, being a huge fundraiser on the tour for charity, having some great courses out there. The players like them. I don't know about Eureka. Personally, it plays pretty well, covers pretty well. I don't know what the players really think about it because I haven't really talked to them. But everyone seems to talk to them about Northwood Black, and a lot of players say they love it. So I don't know the good answer to that, Ray. I don't have an exact answer to that.
Yeah, and I can't really add too much more to it.
That's right.
It's one of
so smart.
the most revered and now liked courses from a competitor standpoint. So to not have it as part of the event almost seems absurd. However, it does feel weird that we... it doesn't feel weird. That's not the right word. It's just unfortunate that the lack of cellular service is what prevents us from being there. Now, maybe other alternatives will be discovered. Maybe there, are ways that a lot more money could be spent to potentially get more extensive coverage on that course. It's, you know, I often think about it in terms of just great courses in general. When you think about where you're going to find the best course and the best property for a course, it's usually going to be outside of town, off the beaten path. I mean, you know, you could say that about most private facilities. And although Morton is not private, but it's outside of Peoria, it's a little bit off the beaten path, and it just happens to be in a place where the cellular signal is terrible. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it does bring up a much bigger overarching question of what's required of being on a course on the tour. You know, the Disc Golf Pro Tour from day one, thankfully for Johnny and I, has been all about live. And that was something that set the Disc Golf Pro Tour apart from the national tour or really any other big events that were taking place, is that there was essentially a guarantee of live coverage.
And let me say this. If it came down to it, and we've had this discussion, if the Pro Tour said, hey guys, there is a phenomenal A1 5-star event, but it can't be covered live, what do you guys think? I would 100% say, make it on the tour. Are they great fundraisers?
Yeah.
Like, personally, I think that the quality of the course is more important than the live coverage, because we have other ways to cover. We can do post-production and such like that, but that is not how the tour has been established and built. And look back, I know a lot of people complain that like the sport feels like it's going to a more ball golf friendly, wide open, good cellular, spectator friendly. That might be true. I don't think it's really shifted that much. But, I mean, the Pro Tour is responsible for some huge growth in the sport. Not all of it, but a lot of it is focused on our pro players and the interest level that they have. And I think it's helped out, you know, as well as pandemic and this and that, as well as post-production, all that stuff helps out. So whatever the Pros Tour is doing right now, it's working. And so I trust them. They had the vision of, you know, they gave away free final day live, which people thought was nuts. People thought it should be reversed. That should be the one day it should be behind pay-per-view. And they're making great decisions right now. That could change in a heartbeat. They could make a decision tomorrow. We could all turn around and be like, what are you thinking? But much like I said always about Steve Dodge, I trust the guy because he has really good ideas, and I always like Steve Dodge as a person. So that helped out quite a bit. So
that's a hill.
That is a hill to die on, trust me, and Steve Dodge knows it.
So just to follow that up, well, a couple of things. One, you wouldn't believe the amount of restraint, and I will pat myself on the back for this, how I managed to not go off on everyone. I started to wonder if we have a reading problem in our country, and then I thought, no, that's not fair, and clearly I'm not attacking anyone that is truly illiterate. But then I was going to revamp that to say, okay, we have clearly a comprehension problem, and I'm not ripping on anyone that has any form of learning disability or skillful disability or learned skill disability. But the amount of times and places that it was posted and published and announced and blasted out there, the game plan for the coverage in terms of coming in roughly at hole 10, like
we talked about it on the podcast last week.
People.
But here, I've said this before as well. The Pro Tour has a communication problem. Because they post on social media as far as information. I don't want every picture on there. As far as information, should be fed to the website. I should be able to go to the Pro Tour website and look at a feed of information that tells me. I want to be able to go to the website and go, who's our feature cards this week? I know there's a schedule as far as when it starts, but that doesn't tell me what hole they're starting on. And not that you have to assume because, hey, guess what? It's starting at 9:30 versus 11. They must be coming in at 9. And maybe they had it for this because I haven't looked at the Pro Tour website in probably 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe there was an informational shout out on the webpage, but I do feel that the Pro Tour has some communication issue when it comes to putting information on the website. They blast it all over social media, every social media you can imagine. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, MySpace, Tinder, Grindr. They're all over. I know the Pro Tour. They're everywhere.
And I know where you are.
But I do feel like there's a slight lack sometimes on the actual website. Like,
I don't know. I see an article. Ledgestone kicks off final push to Worlds. You click on the article. It brings you to the PDGA, but it's still the click from that page where it goes on to say, I'll read verbatim.
Yep.
There will be 2 broadcast times for each division this weekend due to cell signal issues on the front 9 at Northwood.
And this is
Coverage
good.
will begin 2 hours late on those days, beginning with the high. The problem is people just don't want to read.
Correct. I give them props for this because this has not always been the case. Because there have been times I've looked. So huge props to the Pro Tour for putting that out there and easy to find. The problem is some people, as dumb as it is, don't know where to look, and that's on them. Like that. If I was looking for Pro Tour information, I would go to the Pro Tour site. But as I said, sometimes I've gone there and there hasn't been information. I've had to dig up old, did they post that on Facebook or was that on Instagram where I saw that information? Like, I've had to do that in the past.
I understand that, but
for this, mad props to the Pro Tour for having
far off from me feeling like at one point this weekend, I felt like I could fly to every subscriber's house, knock on their front door and say, hey, it's starting late due to poor cell signal. And I swear 3 seconds later, it'd be like, huh? What time is it on? Like, I
get it. I get it.
I understand. And I know I get this too. I'm very much in the know.
Yep.
I'm an insider here. Blah. I understand that as well. But by golly, there is some comprehension problems out there that I just, and it's truly no different than what we faced for many years when you're in the middle of the FPO broadcast and it's when does MPO start? And like, that's kind of almost a running joke of like, let's ask that question 600 times when it's also posted in like 300 places.
Right. You can always, and this is another thing I love the Pro Tour about, as much as people complain about when it starts, their schedule on the website will tell you start times every single event. I mean, probably every day even, what time the event starts at, because usually for FPO it's 9 or 9:30, and for MPO it's either 3 or 3:30 local time. But it can vary. You know, at one point I think we had to start at 9:15 one morning for some reason. But yes, the Pro Tour's website for the schedule has been phenomenal.
All right. At any rate, yes, this is generally an anomaly, this event. Is there going to be changes, provisions, new scenario next year? That's above our pay grade. We can't answer that question, but regardless of what's happening, we'll do our best to make sure that everybody knows. Now, a few people have asked why do we not just sit on hole 10 and watch every group come through? You know, spread the love, whatever you want to call it, even though I'm pretty certain the first thing you'd see posted 300 times would be, why are we watching just hole 10? Like, I hate to get worked up, but I know that's the first, 200 comments. Why aren't we watching any other division? Kelvin Heimberg 6 under through 7. Why aren't we on hole 7 watching Kelvin Heimberg right now?
There are other logistical...
Sometimes you can't win.
Oh, no,
Maybe
no,
that's
no.
what I'm saying.
No, you can't. If you do something, somebody will complain about it and find a reason. So, but here's what I'll say about the other logistics for Ledgestone, which make things difficult. When Northwood is played in the afternoon and your morning round is sunset, it's what, a 45-minute drive between the two of them?
Roughly.
So not only do you have to get the when the round ends at 1:30 for women, you need to get all of your stuff packed up. I'm just talking production-wise. All of this stuff packed up in the van. The van has to drive all the way over to the event, 45 minutes. The guys have to have a break to eat and refresh. Batteries need, I think we're pretty much past most time batteries needing to be charged. I think we have enough of them, but they're plugged in, they're charged, everything. Like, if you started at 3:30, you're barely scraping by.
Yeah.
So in general, like it can be done, but it's not ideal. So none of the people on site complained about having to start later. It gave them extra time to get that stuff in. But that's also a logistical issue, is that we've seen that. We had that issue before the most recent iteration of the Pro Tour, with all the camera guys having to have that issue when it was just a small crew. It's extremely difficult because some of those courses are very spread out. So there's also that logistics issue of getting everybody on site, getting them where they need to be, getting them started. Why don't we just show another group on through hole 10, like start 9 through 18 and then wrap back around to 9 or something? I don't know. It doesn't, again, there's people involved and people need breaks and this and that. It's not like they get to, sometimes when the women finish at 1:30 and the guys just have lunch on site because someone ordered in lunch, they can sit and eat and relax and take a break. They don't have to move anything. Everything sits there, and then they can get back out there. It's not easy. It's not an easy job, and I do not envy them. So ultimately, who knows what we'll see next year, but keep going. So Ray says, much better lighting tonight, Johnny. You look better. Here's what I'm going to say about the lighting. I'm still a little Simpson-y yellow, but whatever. Part of it is my shirt. It's blue and not black. So the color in this webcam helps out. Part of it is Terry, because now it has something else to color adjust to other than just my pasty face. Because the lights are a touch brighter, and it's the same blue light over my head. That helps out quite a bit. So honestly, the lights are almost no different than they were last week. It's just a situational when Terry's in there. Like I said, if I do this, I cover up 2 lights, and I'm not even covering them up. I'm literally like 2 feet away from them. Color gets a little bit better and it brightens up a little bit, but I mean, honestly, it's very much the webcam and the mediocre lens and stuff that's in it. It's a good webcam. It's just webcams in general are kind of mediocre, and we need a better background. I've been saying it for a long time. I'm working on, and when I say I'm working on it, I mean it's on the list of things I'm going to be working on sometime. So if we're lucky,
when he says working on it, that's not active.
That's not active working on it. That's like planning.
That's just mentioning it every few months.
That's mentioning it, that I'm going to be doing it, because I've got other things in front of that need to be done. So so skin color and clothing changes make a huge difference. That's right. I just need to not wear a black shirt because, like I said, I'm already super white. Like white.
Mm-hmm. David John says the Disc Golf Network does not work like YouTube, and I can only get one subject. Only one subject instead of everything. Living abroad. If I pause, the late stream ends. Yeah, you're right. It's not
30 minutes.
Yeah, it's not entirely like the way a live stream works on YouTube. We understand that. It's just the platform right now.
Tech Talk with Johnny here. You now spread the word. 30 minutes. That's as far as behind as you can be.
That will build up to 30 minutes.
We are keeping the broadcast active for 30 minutes after the show ends. So the last putt drops. We have about 10 to 15 minutes of OTB stuff, OTB after show, and then we keep it going for 30 minutes. At 30 minutes, we cut the show. When we cut the show, as everybody knows, your stream ends. So if you're further behind than that, I want to say 30 minutes. 30 minutes will get you to the end of the show. 45 might get you to the last putt. So do not get further behind than about 30 minutes, or you run the risk of being cut off. This is new as of Ledgestone that we've been trying this. So it was suggested to us on YouTube, and the first thing, or on Reddit, the first thing I said was, cool, I can't wait for the guy who's 40 minutes behind to complain. And Mo just said, this is going to help a non-zero number of people. Let's do it. And it doesn't hurt us. There's nothing. There's nothing that's.
There's nothing?
There's no.
So you extending that and then ending it after 30 minutes, doesn't that then delay the overall render of that back 9?
It will delay. So we do separate streams. We do a live stream, which it will delay the rendering of the live stream, the full live stream. But we also do what we call chunks. So we have a front 9 and a back 9 chunk that are separate broadcasts. So we stop those, and those can begin transcoding immediately. But the full live broadcast from 1 to 18 with no break, that will be delayed. But the break one we have from 1 to 9, then 9-ish. Sometimes we do 10, sometimes we do 11. Depends if we remember. Sometimes we forget. And then from 10 to 18, live broadcast. Those will start transcoding immediately. But all I'm going to say, spread the word 30 minutes. If anyone complains about that, shove it in their face and say you now have 30 minutes. And this might... Toasty's going to be mad at me because I'm spilling some beans. This might not be a problem next year. We are researching. When I say we, I have nothing to do with this. The other people are doing this. Researching options. Whether that's a different provider, whether that's a different system with Vimeo, this and that. There are other things. The Pro Tour is always looking to improve. And it might cost more money, but they understand. And I guarantee you, there'll be different problems because no system is perfect. So we'll get on a new system next year or the year after, and suddenly the greens won't be as green and people will complain about it. Or it'll make Terry look 50 pounds lighter and everyone will be like, hey.
Yes, that boy works out.
That boy works out. Suddenly we're going to be able to transpose Terry's head on Ezra's body, and everyone's going to be happy.
They're going to be like, that makes sense.
Like, wow, that's clearly right. I mean, look at that guy's...
How's it been so wrong for so many years?
I don't understand how this works. But yes, they're always looking at other options. So we are not 100% tied to Vimeo, but if that's the best option, if we look at all the solutions, they may stay there. They may move. I don't know. So just know that the research is out there. Ray brought up a question earlier today, or earlier in the show, that said the live broadcast has 100,000 views. The Jomez broadcast of the lead card has 150,000 for the front and back. Is live slowly pushing out post-production? I don't think there's exact words, but
no,
but close.
No.
Or becoming the preferred method.
Poll 10 people and
you'll get 9 different answers.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not even going to get too far into this, other than there's going to be people that will never watch live, and that's great. That's fine. I'm not mad at you. There'll be people that will never watch post. It's great. I ain't mad at you. I don't care. There's people that watch some and then go back and watch post, whether it's because they like the commentary, they like certain graphics, they feel like there's something that was missed, or they just really want to rewatch it again, but in a shorter capacity. That's fine too. I think you're going to continue to see live become more and more popular. And will we ever get rid of post-production?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
And I can't say that enough. I
think
it's always going to have a value. Now, will people find less value in it? That's possible.
I do think that live is finally eating into post-production views.
It quite possibly could.
Yeah. I don't think it's huge amounts, but I do believe that with the product that the Pro Tour is putting out, that it is definitely eating into some of post-production lead card, because everybody knows that if you want the whole story, you go to live. If you want the lead card story, you go to, if you just want the lead card in post-production, a better video quality, tighter times, you go to post-production.
Yeah, and Mike Jewell makes a great point. There's going to be players who, when looking for something in particular, whether it's to learn what Mcbath threw on hole 9, because they're super concerned about that and somehow think that's going to help their game. Maybe it will. It won't, but let's say it does. You want that, or you want to know how a course plays. You're going to play Northwood Black next week because that's where there's a high school reunion or your family reunion in that area, and you can sneak away for 9 hours to go get around it at Northwood Black, and you're like, hey, I want to go play that course. And you're like, I don't know, should I play Northwood Black from the shorts? and shoot 100 over, or should I play Northwood Black from the longs and shoot 200 over? Whatever the case might be, Northwood Black is a tough course. So there's tons of applications for why you will always continue to see post. As someone who also produces post, which is a great segue here in a moment, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be relevant and great. Will we find more people consuming live? As you just said, when you're looking for a more complete story, you're going to get one in live, and that might be just that could be literally any round. And what we mean by that is clearly if the lead card is doing their thing, but there's 3 other people lighting it up on chase or third card during that final round, next thing you know, we're watching more action from other cards, depending on how close it is. Like, you're going to get more shots per broadcast and per minute when you're watching that, and you're going to get a greater variety other than just the 4 players. You're going to lose some other things, but you're going to gain more variety. That's a guarantee. Because we're going to always show the lead card action, but then we're going to probably show more in addition to that.
I mean,
rarely, unless the lead card has fully separated themselves and there's really no likely chance.
No, I was saying if for instance it was a pretty tight round, final round, and normally the way the camera works is traditionally 3 cameras on lead card, 2 on chase, 1 as a roaming camera that can go to whoever's not on one of those cards shooting hot or well for filler material. If the chase card took off and the lead card was lagging, let's say there's only 1 player on the lead card that's still in contention because everybody else is chundering, I believe is the term that was used this weekend. We would push cards off of that lead card right to the chase in a heartbeat. We would go 1 or 2 on lead, 3 on chase, because we don't care about the cards. Honestly, I'll tell you what, if Gannon Burr is suddenly 15 over par on the lead card, we would do everything in our power to not show him, unless he had a phenomenal shot. Now, in disc golf, it's tough because the way that the tees are, people get up and come on right away. But you'll see it all the time. If we're on another card, a player will throw, start to walk off, another player will walk on, and we'll cut the shot. Done. We've done that on lead card. We've skipped shots on lead card because someone just doesn't matter anymore. Congratulations, you're 5 off the lead after 5 holes. If we can not show an approach, or sometimes, although it's rare, not show their drive, we'll do it. Our goal isn't to show every shot. Our goal is to show every relevant shot. So that's kind of the mentality that we have. And I think everyone here knows that because we've talked about it before.
Yeah, and someone else brought up a point on the internet, on the Facebooks the other day, saying, hey, I really wish we would have seen more from so-and-so. And, person X is lighting it up and they're on the 6th card. If it's the last round, and unless they're making a legitimate push for the win, which
podium.
Is still even tough, or maybe podium.
Push for podium is kind of what
and they're having a record-setting round. You think of maybe Mcbath Champions Cup kind of thing, then maybe. But when someone's still 9 strokes off the pace and doesn't have a really legitimate chance, it doesn't make sense, especially on the final day, I should say, to then pull a resource from the lead card to then go follow person X having the round of their life, which is awesome for them. But unfortunately, if they have no chance to find the podium or to win, that's not going to be part of our story. And the problem is you're the biggest fan of person X, or person X is your niece or nephew or uncle or godmother, whatever. I get that you want to see them, but that's just not how this works.
Disc says, hot take, post-production needs to stop showing putts inside 20 feet and needs to show more than 1 card. That's tough. Now, if you ask post-production, I'm sure they would love it if they could show more than 1 card. Jomez has done that. They've paid for footage from Gatekeeper, and they've kind of done a check-in on the second card. But these teams all have rights to their individual cards. So it doesn't necessarily advantage Gatekeeper to give Jomez footage, just like it wouldn't necessarily. If the second card all made a run, like I said, and the first card only had one player that was in contention, does it advantage Jomez to give their footage to sell their footage to Gatekeeper? It would depends on the price. So to show more than one card is difficult. And it's honestly in post-production, I think it's more difficult storytelling than it is live.
Far more.
It's like to weave that in more likely. Now Jomez has done a good job of doing some of their check-ins with some of the shots. And I think it can be done. We just haven't seen a great effort in it yet. Now cutting out 20-foot putts, I don't agree with that. I think that's a little far. 10-foot in. I think we've all kind of in the production room, you'll see us now more and more just cut away from tap-ins. Anything like 10 feet and in now, we're all kind of just saying, cool, let's move on. Let's get the next shot in. I don't need to see Matty O put in a 10-foot. As entertaining as Matty O is, when he says Hail Saban and gives the first down marker after he puts in a 10-footer, unless it's a cool birdie putt, like someone had just had an amazing shot and we want to kind of complete that feeling. If there's like three putts around 10 feet and we have something else to show, we're just going to cut out. Now, if we haven't been burned by it yet with someone like dinking or doinking a 10-footer, it's going to happen. And then we'll have to go back and show like, oh my gosh, look what happened here. So-and-so lost a stroke because we cut away. It'll happen at some point. But these guys, these 10-footers, they're automatic. They're almost as guaranteed as a 2-footer. So we're doing our best now to start cutting out tap-ins to go to other things. So.
Right. So I want to quickly touch on some post-production. I've kind of hinted about these things and probably all but said it, if not directly. So I quickly do want to say I've teamed up with a couple of other guys that are going to help out in this scenario. But this weekend, Friday through Sunday, the 19th through the 21st, the Capital Disc Open presented by Discraft and Upper Park will be covered and assembled and put together and then released on the Disc Golf Guy channel. So super excited to work with Capital Disc and with Jeremy and the crew over there, but it will be covered. I will not physically be there. I will be in Bend, Oregon doing commentary along with Nate and Val, but the Capital Disc Open will be covered this weekend. I think they've already put together a feature card for the first round, but there's also going to be a skins match that takes place on Thursday, and then one round Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's an A tier. It's a B tier with a ton of added cash, all these great sponsors, lots of good stuff that's taking part in New York. So I just wanted everybody to know that that's happening. Originally, they had planned for it to be a few weeks later, I think right after the MVP weekend, but due to some scheduling conflicts, they switched it, lost a little bit of their star power in terms of the players, but they still have like 230 or something like that, a ton of players, including 74 open players. So we will be getting that covered. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows about that. And also,
yes,
the weekend after Worlds, Tear Bear here will be in Sweden. And I'm excited to cover an event there. It's on their Swedish Pro Tour. It's been something that's been in the works, and I've kind of hinted at it as well for a number of months now, but super excited to be there. So almost directly after the World Championships, I'm going to be heading to Sweden to help with some post-production coverage there. So
rough. Must be rough.
It will be, actually. 10 hours in a plane. And, yeah, it's not easy. And then adjusting to light and the temperatures and all of that stuff. I mean, do you think I'm just on holiday when I go there? Is that what you think?
Not at all. I think you do a lot of work when you're there. I'm saying that even if you're doing a ton of work, it's still a good trip.
I'm hoping it is.
I've never heard you come back from overseas and say, man, I did not have fun.
That is squarely on me.
100%.
I find fun wherever I go. By golly, I do.
100%. And
Some of you can attest to that.
I have been in a company of a lot of that fun. I do not feel any sympathy for you.
Okay, you don't have to.
And nobody should. You do a lot of good work, and you do hard work, and you accomplish a lot of stuff, and you have fun. So there's zero sympathy here.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Tim Court says you need an assistant to travel to Sweden.
Ooh,
that's him.
I've had a few offers, Tim, but it looks like I'm going solo at this route. All right, let's read a few more things off the board. So anyway, those are a couple of post-production things. So as I just got done saying, post-production clearly is going to continue to be a very legitimate vehicle, an asset and tool and resource. It's not going anywhere. I think it's going to grow and expand. In fact, it's just going to be a matter of when live is available. I think some people are going to consume things that way as well, or instead.
Zero Strings asks, how many screens in the control room show camera guys jogging to the next position? That has to be hard to ignore and observe at once. It's easy to ignore.
Yeah, when you see a camera shaking everywhere, the last thing you really want to do is look
focus
at it.
on it.
Yeah.
But I will say, thankfully, I don't see a lot of the cameramen jogging because we're pretty well timed. I have become, I feel, and my cameramen are going to hate me. I feel like I'm very good at releasing camera 2, which is our catch cam, in plenty of time to get to their next position. That is almost my number one focus when we're walking down the fairway is how can I get a camera in position to replace that guy so he can go to the next hole? And sometimes it burns me a little bit because the camera 2 will be like, dude, I have like a 4-foot walk to the next hole. They have to double back and go, so I can stay here. After I've already made this plan in my head, like, okay, if I can get camera 3 over to this position, and then camera 2, get him stationary, and then 1 can walk around, so 2 can leave. Like, because I don't want the cameramen to run. That's the last thing I want. They hate running. They've got a ton of gear on them. It's not easy. The last thing you want to hear, when we cut to camera 2, is a camera guy huffing and puffing. And so I try to make that that is almost my number one goal, is when I'm thinking of how can I release camera 2 as quickly as possible usually, and still maintain a good broadcast. So I don't see a lot of jogging. There is a lot of walking for sure. We do have one cameraman who likes to run, other than Mo. Mo loves to run in general. And I almost yelled at him. I'm like, dude, stop running. A, you make me feel bad. And he's like, oh, I don't mind running. I'm like, no, you make me feel bad, like I made you late, even though you've got plenty of time to get there. Second of all, I don't want a guy falling and breaking our stuff. So,
or his face.
No, if it breaks his face, I don't care. I'm just kidding. No, we just don't want guys running because that it hurts it could hurt the equipment, it could hurt them, this and that. So ultimately, I don't see a lot of running. It does happen. I do screw up, usually like once a round or once a tournament maybe, where I don't get a guy out in time, or it's an awkward par 3 where all for whatever reason, we've got some, like, they're chunking up the fairway and our cameras can't get ahead. And so the camera guy in the catch position is stuck there until I can get a camera up there. But if it's heavily wooded, people are trying to get up there, and you just can't get a camera ahead of everybody because we don't want to make the players wait while a cameraman walks down the fairway. And occasionally the camera has to run, and I hate it. I feel bad, but I also think that's part of the job once in a great while, but hopefully very little. Very little.
Okay. Ray had also asked, do you have backup and redundancy for Mo and Gary O's shop, blah, blah, blah? Johnny's trained some people. Short answer to that is yes. Almost every single job that is done within the Disc Golf network, the entire network of cameras and various camera operators. I mean, at some point we have multiple drone operators. We've got multiple gimbal operators. They do such a phenomenal job of really cross-training everyone, so that if somebody, you could be catch for lead MPO, and the very next round you might be throw for third feature card of FPO or whatever. So everybody's really become cross-trained. You might have your preferences or kind of your norms, but everybody has, I cannot say it enough how impressive it's been that so many people have this cross training. And then even within the control room, that's been something that's been a significant focus over the last couple of years, in that there's now multiple people that could do various parts. So if somebody got hit by a bus, which is always my favorite one to go to,
Of course.
but if somebody got hit by a bus, there would be somebody else that could likely step in and fulfill any role.
I mean, there are people that are the best at their job.
Of course.
Gary is the best at running replay. He just is. He's done it. He's very quick. He understands. But Gary can also now do directing. He can easily do graphics. Graphics is kind of the beginner, the easiest job in the Pro Tour, because the buttons are mostly laid out. You have to push a button when you see a player. The hardest part about graphics is knowing all the players. Like, it's easier to train someone how to do the graphics than teach them all the players. So graphics is usually where someone comes in, kind of gets that under control, and then they go to replay and do that. And Gary usually is very good at training them. We start them off on Silver Series. It's a little bit slower. Mo, the producer, we've done other producers. Silver Series are being produced by other people now. Tosi, who is our AD, he does a lot of the audio stuff. He balances cameras a little bit more. I still do a little bit of that as well, but he also takes care of all of the assets, as we call them, all the screens, the graphics, not the graphics, those are like the little bugs, that's one guy, but graphics as in the full screens and the scenics and the rollouts, the course close-ups, things like that is Tosi. Tosi can do Mo's job. Mo can do that job. The only job Mo hasn't done is directing yet. But I honestly, I would love to see him do it one time. And I don't want to do any other job. I could do graphics. I might be able to do replay. It would take me a while for replay, because replay is very tough. Like, I do not envy anyone stepping into that replay position, because you have to be watching a lot of cameras, marking a lot of shots, and being ready for when Mo suddenly says, "Oh God, I didn't realize that Paul Mcbath was 20 feet from this basket. Go back and get the drive," and you maybe didn't mark it. So now you need to dig back through your footage and scrub and scrape and like, okay, and Mo wants it literally in seconds. So I don't envy that. I don't ever want to do replay if I don't have to. But a lot of people can do a lot of people's jobs. I think we're very as Terry said, cross-trained. Right now, I would say the only thing that I do that can't be replaced is literally the physical building of the devices, the servers. Like, we've got some big plans coming up for the end of the season. So stay tuned for announcements on that. But when I have to build more servers, someone's like, "Oh, we need another replay machine because we're training somebody," or "Let's build this thing right here." I'm the only one right now that can really do that. Speaking of which, I need to do that tomorrow. Sorry, Gary.
Okay, another question that had come in was asking about, Terry, what were you doing for Nate this weekend? We saw you several times on the coverage, but you never ever gave us a wave or a word.
That's not true. I think I saw a thumbs up from you once.
Yeah, I may have made some silly faces, but this weekend was really unique, and I definitely explained it a number of times because it was so unique. Just in that, and I think I discussed it last week too, but I was hired and directly contracted to work with the Ledgestone Open event with Nate Heinold and with the rest of the crew. I had mentioned earlier something about 85 staff members. I was technically one of those, although I never did get my shirt or my shoes, Nate. But
Me neither,
I was
Nate.
on staff. Well, you weren't on staff. I was on
Me neither,
staff
Nate.
and contracted by Nate. As I tell almost everyone, I am, for 30-ish weekends a year, contracted by Disc Golf Network to do various live things. Whether, like this weekend, I go to Bend, Oregon, where I'm playing host of the broadcast for all 3 days, similar to what Ian Anderson does, or I'm on site doing similar to what Brian Earhart did this last weekend, where I'm helping run the press conference and then also on-course commentary and sideline reporting. Usually that's what I'm doing for 30-ish weekends or so out of the year, whatever the number is. When I'm not doing that, I'm often working for myself and running post-production for the Disc Golf Guy channel. Usually, like 98% of the time, it's one of those two things, or maybe I'm helping run a tournament or something else. But media-wise, it's one of those two things. This weekend is that 2%, is that unique scenario where I wasn't doing either of those things. I was working directly for Nate as part of the Ledgestone event crew. And you may say, well, why is that? That seems odd. Maybe a little bit, except for there's a long-standing history. Johnny and I, as Smashbox, and myself as the disc golf guy, had worked with Nate for a number of years as doing some form of media within the Ledgestone event. And so I very much have had this tie and this special connection to this event, more so than most of our other events. And it also kind of gives me a little bit of a break, not because I don't enjoy or love the work I'm doing, but it just gives me a different perspective for a weekend. And it's I helped a lot with the Instagram stories, and I did some other things with Nate, worked with Hannah, T-Box. Yeah, it's just a different perspective. And in other years, I've had slightly different role. So that's what I was doing. I think that answers the question, but it's very unique, and it is not the common practice for events. So it's a very fair question. Also, some of the other things I did, I think about, I was host to the skins match that took place. Not skins, sorry. The St. Jude fundraiser event that happened on Wednesday evening. Sometimes I've stepped in to help out with some of the filming for the ACE run, for the $10,000 ACE throw off. There's just a lot of things along those lines where I can kind of fill in.
What do you think DGN's current biggest deficit? Where do you want the most improvement for next year? Ray says he thinks sound could use more attention, maybe directional mics to catch appropriate moments. I mean, as we know, sound is probably the most difficult thing because there are so many variables. You have. I would love slightly better cameras. I'll say this, not necessarily better, more consistent. I want every camera to be the exact same make and model, every one of them, other than maybe our slow-mo cam and the gimbal cam, because those can't be the same. Because sometimes we're, like right now, we work with post-production crews, and they have different cameras. And one of the things that they do is they have something, they call it the tentacle. It's like a jammer. It syncs the cameras up. And on one channel, and you'll hear it sometimes, we try to avoid it, but every once in a while, when we go to a shot and you hear that annoying noise that's just deafening, it's because either the camera on their side maybe put it on the wrong channel, or on my side, I forgot to mute a channel because I have to mute channel 1 because the tentacles usually, everything bad's on channel 1, everything good for us is on channel 2. One of us has messed it up. Because when we do tests in the morning, maybe they didn't have, the post-production guys weren't there, so we didn't test their particular camera. I would love it if we could just get rid of those and have consistent cameras and let the post-production guys use the same cameras. I think it's in the long-term plan. I don't know if that's next year or 2 years or 3 years. Directional mics are difficult, just like on-course communication is difficult. You're dedicating an entire broadcast to just audio. I think it would be awesome to have specific audio for like a parabolic mic pointed at whatever player's throwing or the conversation they're having. But yeah, balancing the right audio for, because again, we're using all the same cameras. When the guy at camera 6 gets done on hole 18 with whatever player he's following, he becomes suddenly the interview camera. And so that's a different set of, it's a different mic, that's different volume levels for interviews than it is for being on the course. We're still a startup. We're still trying to make, do the best we can with the little resources that we have without, we can't just break the budget and get whatever we want, or Sam would be so happy because I think Sam would just love to go to B&H Photo and buy a whole bunch of shit that, he wants. So yeah, but yes, I think you're right. Audio could always use improvement. I think we're getting much better with Tosi being able to control levels on his side. So if something's a little hot, he can pull it down, usually within a second or two. And then replay has different, the same cameras go to replay, go to us, but sometimes I'll adjust my audio, and replay doesn't necessarily, like if we're listening on camera 1 to a conversation, I'll push it up, and then it'll be louder, and then we go to replay and it's quieter, and it's very difficult. Audio is not fun, and any audio engineer will tell you that, and I do not envy their job at all. But I think we do an okay job. I won't even call it good yet. I think we're doing okay with audio, but we're getting there. It's just
It's a little learning curve. There are things I think we can add in that Smashbox had years ago that I think could help out. There's a bunch of plugins that take up CPU resources that will do kind of auto leveling to a specific level. But then you run into the issue of, oh, cool, you auto leveled the cameras for background audio, but now you want to try to force them up because you've got conversations happening. So now that the system automatically wants to push it down. But I used to do that with commercials, because I would either the night before the broadcast or the morning of, I'd be leveling commercials, because every company, even though we send them, hey, we want them in 60 frames per second, 1080p, and preferably at negative 12 decibels or whatever the thing is now. It doesn't matter. A lot of these companies just they don't understand some of that. They just send you a commercial, and it could be in 4K, it could be in 720. I've seen it. We've all seen it. The commercials that are way too big and they're cut off on the corners because you see the words come off the screen. It's because we were in a hurry, or the company sent us the wrong size commercial, or it's super loud and maybe we missed auto leveling it, or maybe we missed leveling it in general, and now Tosi has to manually do it. It's a lot of work, and there's a reason why when you go to ESPN, Mo literally would tell me, he's like, yeah, my one job was just to create this one graphic over and over and over, or whatever he did. I had to just pull this file from this system. We had one person to do one little thing. It's because everyone's specialized, because it's that important these days. But yeah, it's difficult. I would love more attention put to audio, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know what the DGN's biggest thing is. Again, I'm excited for later this year. I think you guys are gonna be pretty excited. There's gonna be some kind of cool things coming up.
All right, next up, Scout Recycler asks, anybody know how Paige's documentary is doing on DGN? That would be also kind of I don't want to say a good running follow-up, but I think a little check-in as to some form of update on that.
There were a few
every week or every other week.
Thought I heard there were at least a few thousand downloads, but I don't know the exact number.
Yeah,
that could be 1,500. That could be 5,000.
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, and unfortunately, I didn't think to ask. But that would be a good question to have at the ready, possibly for the next few weeks, and then just see also where the progression is and what's going on with it, and just kind of get some kind of a status update. I should put that on actually a set of notes to ask for some form of status update to report back to everyone weekly. I'd be all about it. We didn't really even touch on the documentary in the regular show or here in the after show. I would be curious to know of your thoughts, what you guys, what you guys thought of it, and if there's any other quick takeaway that we really need to bring up or discuss about it. I really enjoyed doing the Q&A that took place on Wednesday night. Having both the director in Wilson and then having Paige on there. Almost all of the questions that were read were sent in, and then I was just kind of literally just poking around at this list of 50 questions and just trying to see one that was like, oh, that looks like a good question, and then ask it. We only got to roughly a dozen of them, and again, there was a little discrepancy. No, there was a little I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Liberty taken on my part as to, I felt it was much more to ask a question about the documentary that was relatively specific, as opposed to, what would you tell a 13-year-old trying to get sponsored? Just with relative to the subject matter. Yes, if I saw both of those questions back to back, I went with the one that was more specific to the, specific to the documentary, and we would have needed another 2 or 3 hours to go through every single question that was in there. So also to just put that out there.
I was told to give you a little bit of a hard time.
Okay.
Mo said that, I believe you guys started at something like 7:55 or something, 8:55. I forget the exact time, but at 8:40, he said, "Okay, Terry, wrap it up." And Mo's like, "We didn't end till 9:05 or 9:15."
20 minutes later. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, it was supposed to be does he not understand what wrap it up means? I'm
No.
like, well,
have you not seen our show?
That's what I told him. I'm like, Mo, you kind of know what you're getting into when it comes to us. He's like, I know, but give him a hard time for me. I said,
That's fine.
I will do that.
He can
So that is the hard time I'm going to give you, Terry.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there was a ton more questions, and the conversation from both Wilson and Paige, I thought was so just wildly enlightening and on point. If I felt like it was dragging on, I would have been more inclined to be like, okay, let's wrap this thing up. I just, to pat them on the back, I thought they were doing just such a great job, and it was really engaging. So that's why I didn't instantly wrap it up on his part. Too bad, Mo. You run it next time. Reading along a few more of them. I'm ready to turn to 2024. Will be the eligible for Masters. I hurt my neck sleeping last week and out of commission for 4 days. Sam, yeah, heal up. I was just saying today that, or thinking yesterday or the last few days, I don't know if I need some major pillow adjustments or what, but my neck's also not been doing well lately.
What kind of pillow do you like? Do you like a big fluffy pillow, or do you like a real skinny paper?
No, I hate skinny, tiny little pillows. But the pillow that I used last night was I don't know, it's not memory foam, but it's thick and firm, and it also still made my neck hurt. And it's not like this is anything new, so I don't know what's going on with my sleeping lately. What I don't like are some of the really nasty hotels that I've been to where it literally feels like 4 or 5, usually dirty, T-shirts are just bundled together and thrown into a pillowcase. I've been to too many hotels that feature that as their form of a pillow, where you pick it up and the way it squishes, it feels like they put like 5 T-shirts in here.
some old towels.
That's what. That's what it feels like.
I generally like a very thin, paper-like pillow with not a lot of padding. Just give me just enough to barely lift my head off the pillow, off the mattress. I mean, and I'm good with that. When I go to a hotel, you go in and there's like 6 pillows on the bed, and all I'm thinking is like, okay, which one is the smallest? That's the goal I go for. What is the smallest pillow?
For
the other ones I usually like body pillow wrap.
I like
up
the
when
ones
I sleep.
where you put your head down and it like takes a while for them to sink all the way in. Those are the ones I
ain't got no time for that.
All right. Ray is saying, I'm really just forwarding the complaints I heard from Charlie on the Upshot earlier today. I will bridge the gap so Smashbox can react same day. I'm not sure what the complaints were.
These are some of the questions.
Oh, some of the minor
asking.
delay between the booth and the action. There's about a half-second delay currently.
Oh,
that's
more than that. It's about a second to a second.
Yeah, I mean that unfortunately is a much bigger, larger, expensive, challenging fix than anyone probably realizes, because
everyone thinks that you can just
like click a button and
delay.
Hey, just clap your hands together or something. And
can't you just click delay video? It's like, no, you can't, because if you do that, you literally delay every single thing on video. So every interview, every commercial is off by 1.5 seconds. And on top of that, as I've said, and I don't want to harp on this because I've gone over this 1,000 times, but I know we always have new listeners. The delay between the booth and what they see fluctuates because it's a basically best serve. So sometimes it might be 200 milliseconds. Sometimes it might be 800 milliseconds. That fluctuates based on the internet conditions. So if Charlie is remote in New York and he's got great internet, awesome. And that's great for them. Brian, on the other hand, maybe is in a hotel room in Des Moines and his internet's not so good. And so his feed might literally be 200 milliseconds off Charlie's. How do you exactly equate the delay for that? Because it will fluctuate, because it could get better. So there are ways, I've talked about this, there are ways to cut down that delay. But they're very difficult, and they're expensive, and they rely on our commentators being in one spot together. Now, that could be one spot in Bend, that could be one spot in New York. It's much more difficult for Silver Series when the people are split up. But I can also kind of feel Silver Series, I don't care if the stuff is 2 seconds behind in Silver Series, because they're Silver Series events. They're literally our second tier events. I want them to be as good as they can be, but we also don't spend the extra money to fly everybody to one location. So we settle for broadcasters that are in different locations that are on a back channel communication that talk to each other so that they can sync up as opposed to using the web interface. Like, it doesn't get the resources that the Elite Series get. And I could cut the delay in half if we really, really wanted to spend a little extra money, and I trusted that all the commentators understood how remote desktops work, and they could spin up a server and look at it. And like, I would trust Nate Dawson to do that in a heartbeat, but I don't necessarily trust everybody to do that. I don't trust Terry.
Nope.
So in general, it's possible to cut it down. It is literally impossible to get it in sync unless the commentators are in the same location as the director, as me. Because that's the only way you have that low of a delay connecting. Anytime you connect anywhere else, even over a fiber connection, you're going to have some millisecond delay. And I think we could get away with up to 400 to 500 milliseconds. That's half a second, and no one would really care or notice. But the way things work right now, that's doubled because the signal has to go there and then their audio has to come back. So that could be anywhere from a second to a second and a third. So, like, there are other things I would put my efforts into. And again, you talk to Charlie, you talk to Ian. Sometimes I feel like they think that's the number one problem DGN has. That ain't the case. Like, it sucks, but I care, but I don't care enough. I would fix 10 other things before I fixed that. Because you know what? The other thing I said is, guess what commentators shouldn't ever be doing? And Terry sometimes does this, but he's pretty good at it. Philo does this. Ian does this. Other guys do this. They cheer for the fucking discs. Ooh, don't go out. And by the time it's out, it's 2 seconds ago. Guess what? You shouldn't be cheering for discs in general. No, you shouldn't. You're a commentator. You're in general. It should be an unbiased.
I'm cheering for the best possible outcome.
What if the best possible outcome is Paul Mcbath going out of bounds to make it a better competition against Ricky Wysocki coming into hole 18? Nope. So you want the best score.
I want everybody to get the best score possible.
Okay, well, that's silly. So anyway, you shouldn't be cheering. You should watch what the disc does and then tell me what happened, or tell me the results, or tell me the storyline now. Don't go like, I'm sorry, we're not AM radio. We're not baseball radio where you've got homers. And I love AM radio. Bob Uecker is one of my favorites. But the dude is a homer for the Brewers. That's what AM radio, or maybe FM, depending on your area, that's what the radio broadcasters are for. But I'll tell you what, you don't hear, in theory, Joe Buck cheering for a team.
So should you, and by that same nature, should you...
If Aaron Rodgers goes back for a pass and throws it, he's not going, he's going to catch it. No, the dude catches it, he goes, and he scores, and then Joe Buck tells you what happened and how that affects the game in the future. Don't go fucking cheering for shots, because you're going to look stupid when it's already rolled out of bounds and you're cheering or hoping it doesn't.
Well, I understand your frustration with...
And that's part of the 2 second delay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I
still don't want you to do it.
More so the frustration when you're saying from a technical perspective of people are seeing what's already happened and then the voice doesn't catch it. I totally understand that. And ever since learning of the delay, I absolutely try to avoid doing just that, because
you're better at it.
Just like you said, if a disc gets up and skips, and you've already seen at home that it's come to rest, and I'm still, or it's still whatever, and I'm commentating, I understand all of that. I think there is always an interesting conversation to be had about what is considered bias or unbias, and like you said, cheering for any given shot
solution or outcome. Yeah, like I get it. If a disc is rolling and a commentator says that has to sit down or it's going to go OB. Mm-hmm. That's not cheering. That's statement. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But going again, like literally, sit down. That's cheering. That is some sort of wishing on a result. I don't want to see that as a listener. I don't want a commentator to do that. Now again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. Disc golf doesn't have to be like every other broadcast. That's another thing I've told Mo. Like, Mo and I, we look at golf, and I watch it for different reasons, listening to their commentators. I don't necessarily think we have to be like every other commentator. We can carve our own path.
Yeah,
if maybe I'm 100% wrong in this, and everybody wants to hear our players root and cheer and hope for the best for all of our players, and oh great, it's another blowout, good for Ricky. Maybe that's the chance. Maybe that's what people want, and I'm wrong. I'm fully well to admit that.
No, it's clearly that it's not the case, because you could be cheering for any given person and just knowing that there's a percentage of the population that's watching that dislikes that person. So by you cheering for them, you're ticking off that fan or anti-fan or whatever you want to call it. It makes perfect sense. I don't have a problem with what you're saying. I think it makes perfect sense. I think there's probably a fine line, as you're saying, as to what feels like how biased is it when you're saying sit down, don't roll OB, don't roll OB.
You're not biased towards a particular player. You're biased towards a result. Like, I get it, because you're going to cheer for everybody. It doesn't matter if the person's in first, second, or fifth.
I'll tell you, you're never going to hear me do something like, oh, that's Missy Gannon. Oh, it's rolling. Oh, sit down. And then Kristen Tatar throws. And I'll be like, oh, keep pushing, keep rolling. Like, you're clearly never going to hear me, because if anything of that nature is said, it's in hopes or thought of the best possible outcome for that given player. But I totally understand what you're saying.
And again, partially it's part of the delay that I think everybody understands now, and I've told every commentator, like, try not to cheer. Try not to root for things, because you have to understand, a lot of times by the time you see it, it's already happened. So just think of that, because like it or not, you're going to sound dumb. Someone's going to comment it on Reddit, and then you're going to come back to me and be like, oh God, we need to get this fixed.
Yeah, we do.
But we don't.
Like, we should.
If funds were unlimited.
Of course. I'm just saying, but of course, I understand the challenge.
I also want a new roof on my house, Terry.
Okay.
Just do it. Funds are not limited. Like, I actually don't need
that. Doesn't mean, but if you wanted a new roof, you would work to get a new roof. I wouldn't say, oh, you want a new roof? Well, yeah, put one on tomorrow.
Cool. If I tell
I'm not saying that either, but that doesn't negate that you still need a new roof. Even if funds are limited and you can't do it tomorrow, that doesn't negate the idea that it shouldn't get fixed. It needs to still get addressed.
Sure,
and I still want it to get addressed.
Sure, someday.
I mean, just to say, well, it currently is a problem, and but it's not my top concern. Therefore, I'm not worried about it getting fixed. I don't know if I agree with that.
Here, true example, my roof. My roof has drippage on one side. It literally has. We put gutters on today. Gutters went on today. Okay. I addressed the situation with what is arguably
a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm. At some point in hopefully 10 to 12 years, my roof will probably have to be fixed and tore off. But for now, it's in good shape. That's how I feel about this problem. Like, cool. Guess what? It works. There is nothing truly technically wrong with it. Is it an inconvenience for some people? But again, like, that's like arguing that guess what? Our colors in our broadcast aren't perfect.
Yeah. So you would want to work.
So we would want to fix it. But if I told you
just got done saying, you would like them to all look the same.
I would. But if I told you it's going to be $100,000 to fix that, that's the cheapest we can do it. Like, where does that go on our priority list? Because that's what this is.
I don't make the budget.
I know. This is a to me, very, very, very low priority issue.
To you.
Correct. And I don't make, again.
To me, I feel differently.
Yeah, and we don't make the priorities.
Exactly. And nor do we write the checks.
No, we don't.
Or pay any of the bills.
Nope, we don't.
So it's somewhat irrelevant. However, I think it's fair to say your priority list of fixes or challenges might look very different from mine.
And
you get different criticisms online than I get 100%. Online.
Yep.
So it's fair to say we have different agendas.
The difference is you can fix yours by just literally changing what you do, just by how you speak.
I can address it. I can compensate, not necessarily fix. I can compensate.
Correct. You can make that
to make it better.
You can make it so people don't notice.
Yeah, I could largely.
So isn't that fixing the problem?
No,
haven't we fixed
that's bandaging the problem?
That's what you
not
say.
Fixing it.
That's what you say,
right?
Sure. Haven't I fixed the problem by telling you how to do it without making everyone? Is the problem the 2-second delay, or is the problem the commentators? You don't. I mean, I'm not. That's in general. I'm not saying. All I'm saying is that there is a problem. It can be fixed with a crap ton of money and resources and trying to fix something, or it could be fixed by just me telling you, don't get so excited so quickly.
Yeah, I don't disagree that's
so there is
one way.
There is a solution.
One way to combat or address the problem. Absolutely.
Sure.
Or it could be fully fixed.
Cool. It's what I just did. I just plugged a hole in your tire.
Yeah, exactly.
That tire will run for another 10,000 miles.
Is it as good as new?
Not quite as good as new. But guess what? If you can plug a tire, Terry, you're not going to get a brand new tire right away.
Not right away, but I'm going to want to get it fixed.
At some point. You did. You plugged it. Got a nice
I'm going to want to get it fixed or replaced.
You want to get a new tire.
I'm going to want to get a new tire because that's what you should do.
Sure. But
you're going to want to get a new roof, but you might not do it tomorrow because funds are limited. I get it.
I know.
And I'm not saying go out and get a new roof tomorrow. But ideally, you'd like to get a new roof.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than putting up a gutter.
Oh, sure.
You did.
Sure. Yeah, we put up gutters because we have a flat roof and it was dripping at certain spots. And in order to fix, if we wanted a truly perfect flat roof, it technically is supposed to have a touch pitch to it. And then it can drain into the spots on the roof where it's supposed to. But because it would cost me literally, I think they said $30,000 to do that, to tear the roof off the house and put a new flat roof on and everything, we decided that we would pay just, a few grand for gutters. Cool, gotta, and just pop some gutters on it where we knew the drippage was. So that'll last 10 years and I won't have to think about it. So yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about this.
We could definitely pass the problem on to someone else.
I'm passing it on to future John because I'm not moving out of this house. Future John gets that problem. But anyway, so there's the 2-second delay. That's my perspective. And I understand for a commentator, it's difficult to not try to immediately react to what you see on screen. And I think that takes training. I think that takes understanding and training. And I think our commentators can do it because I do and I think most of our commentators are really good. But as I've said, I've heard this complaint before about the 2-second delay, and everybody in the Pro Tour knows about it. And from my perspective, everyone above me has decided that this isn't an issue because nobody above me has ever asked me about it other than Mo, and I've explained it to Mo. And the only people that have requested it to get think that needs to be immediately fixed are people that don't make those decisions up there.
So just because higher ups don't agree with the decision doesn't necessarily mean it's the right decision either.
You're right. I agree.
Right.
With you.
I think the government, for instance, makes a lot of decisions that I think most of the common folk don't necessarily agree with.
Sure.
That could benefit them in a lot more ways.
You're 100% right.
All right. So does anyone know which touring does anyone know which touring pro ties their cat up to their van? It was a dynamic disc van. Friend cat walked up to me and I gave him some pets.
Friendly cat. Lisa Fakis has a cat, but she's not DD.
Yeah, she's got and Holly Finley has a cat. She's also with Innova.
Maybe somebody was cat sitting.
It could have been. There's only.
Was it Katrina Allen? Was that the cat that walked up and you were friendly to it? I mean, I don't know. Oh, hi, cat.
No more comments. Jonathan Nicholson has a DD wrapped van, and that's what makes me think that he's the most likely. And then obviously Wysocki's van, which I'm pretty sure you'd pick out. Jonathan Nicholson is the one that comes to mind because I feel like he's the other major DD
Chris Clemens
van out there. That's a good one. It could be.
That's
I don't know.
From Ryan Pilcher.
Is that on his van? Is his van wrapped? Or is his van kind of low-key? Either way, Chris Clemens might be the cap culprit.
What kind of cat is he?
But Chris Clemens does have a cat, and is on tour and throws DD. Man, I feel like this is a game of Clue or something like that. Live coverage is fine. 2 years ago, improvements are nice, but I don't need any more to enjoy it. Okay, we appreciate your low bar, Carney.
Thanks, Carney. I appreciate
that.
Like, we're good now. We're good forever.
It's ingrained in disc golf to root for good shots. I'm always rooting for him. I like Dust from Gatekeeper because he has a unique approach to post. Get him on live if you want to be ballsy. And Ray, how much did you get paid for the sponsoring that post?
Actually, just a couple weeks ago, I did recommend Dust for something for live. So
love it.
I don't know if that's going to go anywhere because I don't make those decisions. But I did say, hey, if you're looking for someone to maybe help something out, I think Dust would like a shot.
Yep, there you go.
So shout out if Dust, if you're listening, I threw your name out there for something.
But nobody listens to you.
Nobody knows.
All right. If everything is up and up, why do we have such a long discussion on these various topics?
The only topic I need to question anybody on is, are you a Patreon supporter? Because you should be. I give away all of these hot takes, all of these phenomenal insights. Ideas and insights, these A1 suggestions, background
information,
everything,
breakdowns.
I give it away give it away now. And if you're not
home tips, home improvement tips to defer your frustrations and costs for 10 years.
Yeah.
Johnny's got those.
Yeah, because my roof doesn't leak, so I got no problem with the roof. But anyway, I give all these out for quote unquote free, but you know what? You can pay me for these. And if you're not basically paying me for these, you're probably stealing my information.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yes.
If you're not paying for the podcast at patreon.com/smashboxtv, you're more or less stealing right from Terry. And look at him. He can't afford to be stolen from.
No.
So,
I cannot miss a meal, folks.
I didn't say that. I just said in general, you can't be afforded to be stolen from. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV is where you can go to support this podcast. And so we can do it every week and give you all the insights. So tomorrow that I can do, I'm gonna try some auto body work. It's gonna be kind of scary.
Oh geez.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
Wow.
Anyway,
folks, this is getting good.
It's gonna be good.
You should definitely go live for that.
No, I should not. I'll tell you a little later. But we have 170 people eligible for this giveaway. I have sorted the names by address. Some do, some don't have address. So they don't have an address, they're at the bottom of the list. If they do have an address, they're at the top of the list. But they're sorted in reverse order of number. So they start with technically an S, because I believe that's someone overseas. That's Enzo. And then it goes P.O. boxes, and then a couple other letters, and then all the numbers, 908, 880, all those numbers. So that's how that works. And then at the bottom is the people who do not have addresses in the Patreon system. So Terry Miller, we are giving away the box that's on. I think we have 2 giveaways this week, actually.
Maybe. Did we not do one?
We did not do one last week because you were not here.
Yep.
So we've got a Patreon giveaway. And actually, you know what? Is there some other thing? Grab that whole pile right there, Terry. We'll give away 2 of these items. So one of them is going to be the disc member box. Disc member. And the other, I forget what this disc is. Do I want this one? Oh yeah, no, we're going to give away this one right here. The other one is going to be this Skyline 2019 Star Wraith, signed by all the celebrities that were at the celebrity event. And this is significant. I should have waited till next week because I think the celebrity event is going to drop next week.
What? Somebody just asked me about it. I didn't have the answer.
It's because it's supposed to drop in the week, whatever weekend there isn't any broadcast. So I think after Des Moines, but before Worlds.
Yep, that would be next week.
So I believe that's when it's going to drop. So this, maybe it's rightly timed, but maybe not. Anyway, so you'll get it right in time. So all the signatures on here were the pros. I'm sorry, not the pros, but the celebrities that were at the event. And you can figure out who those are based on their celebrity. Even it's got a DG guy right in the middle.
Oh my gosh,
got a DG guy. I have another one too. I've got this Funky Farms one that I'm keeping for me because I'm greedy, and I took the time to have them signed. But anyway, so these 2 items. The first one we're going to give away is going to be the disc member box. Terry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, disc member. Terry, what number do we want to pick?
Well, I think I don't know. I just watched an Instagram. Paul Mcbath's apparently also trying to throw pitches at the little game there in.
Do we want him
at a game
blowing out his arm?
Yeah, exactly. At a game, and in the extracurricular activities area, threw a pitch that got to 82. So let's go with 2 because that makes a lot of sense.
All right, that's close enough. The first number is 131. Second number is going to be probably lower than that. It is 83.
Oh, so close to the number I said, too.
83. Yeah, you said 82.
Was the speed.
So 83 is David Hurd. Congratulations, David Hurd. You got the disc member box, right?
That a boy, David.
David Hurd. I'm going to write that right on here, David.
Good call.
So I don't forget. David
Put the date on there. 8/16.
8/16/2022. Okay. So now we have another giveaway. We've got the celebrity disc. I will not sign that celebrity disc because I did not participate, and I am not apparently a celebrity. So
no. Wait a minute. Billy Lunn's out on the board. Billy, I already called out your name once this year. That was a few minutes ago.
We did.
Or a little earlier. And now you're on the board saying, thanks for the entertainment. Sending love from across the pond.
Good luck. Good luck at the World Games.
Represent the United States to the best of your abilities.
And like I said, if you don't win, don't bother coming home. Just kidding.
Oh, Billy Lunn.
Billy. All right. So our next one, Terry, we're going to give away the celebrity disc. So what number should we draw for that one?
Let's go with the third pull.
The third pull. All right. So our first one is 128. Our second one is 117. Our third one is 99.
99.
9 times, Bueller. 9 times. This is... Wow. I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing this name. Kirill Bukowski? Bukowski. I'm going to go with Bukowski. Kirill Bukowski. Thank you, Kirill. We'll get that disc to you. Congratulations.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, so congratulations. I don't think I haven't said that name before, so
no.
I definitely like it. He's a $2 support level. So, that's what I forgot to do. I'm sorry, Marcus Burks. I forgot to update the list. I'm going to do that tonight. I'll update the thank you list. So this is a
special shout out.
Yeah, this is a verbal shout out to Marcus Burks,
then some.
Who is he's a $10 supporter, and he called me out last week.
As he should,
because he was like, I don't see my name on that list, and
son of a,
I somehow missed because I updated it I think a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and somehow his name didn't get on. I don't know how. I screwed up clearly. I think maybe I only added the $2 members on that time instead of everyone $2 and above. And I said I was going to do it, but I didn't. So Marcus Burks, first of all, hope all the Burks family is doing very well. Second of all, I'll get your name on there, I promise.
Thank you. Some questions have been asked. I think this is it was maybe already announced a long time ago. But yes, the Disc Golf Pro Tour finale is scheduled to be again in the Charlotte area, Charlotte, North Carolina. So I don't know if it's the exact same course that we've been seeing for the last couple of years. I would have to assume so, but that's nothing more than a silly assumption on my part. October 13th through the 16th is when you will see the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship. Charlotte is what's listed. Now, Charlotte's got a ton of great courses. Pretty sure it's going to be at the same one.
I heard they're going to do different holes at different courses. So
play
hole 1,
like 2 holes, then travel.
Yeah, so then go to another course, play 2 holes, go to another course. I hope nobody minds the 3-day round 1.
It'll be just fine. So, yes, Charlotte. That's what I can tell you. I don't think I'm scheduled to. Maybe I don't know. I might be in the booth. Somebody did ask about. I think we talked about it earlier, but somebody asked regarding, at least this weekend, I can tell you, it's myself and Valerie Jenkins. Then in the afternoons, it's going to be myself, Nate Doss, along with Nate Sexton, I believe. So it'll be all of us. That'll be the 3 days of this weekend on the ground then. That leaves either Brian Earhart or Nate Perkins, but I'm almost 99% positive it's Earhart. So I believe Brian Earhart is going to be out on the course. So that's what you're going to see for the commentary team this weekend. And then for the Worlds, I believe it is scheduled as the same as it was last year, which is Charlie Eisenhood, likely along with Hannah. I'm just gonna stop because I don't know. I know I'm not in the booth. I know that much. So to know for sure who is or isn't, I can't speak to that. But I'm pretty sure I know that I am not. So that's all I need to know. I'm gonna be there on the course, but I am not in the booth. All right. Cannot be at Hornet's Nest by the city orders. They have another event in the park, big motocross. Okay. You might be right. You might be wrong. I have no idea. You seemingly know more than what I do.
You may be right.
I just
you
know
may be
that
crazy.
Yeah. Has Elaine quit yet? No. If so, I did not see. Not that I probably would see her letter of resignation, but I think it's already been announced multiple times. So I don't know if it's again back to this comprehension or possibly retention challenge for you, Disc Blaster. But it has been announced multiple times that whatever was scheduled at the beginning of the year in terms of commentator roles and duties. In fact, I think it's even been published somewhere. So I could go find the answer you were looking for earlier. But anyone that had scheduled and was put on the schedule remains on the schedule. Including all of our people.
Have you been fired yet?
Not yet.
Me neither.
How is that possible?
I have no clue how we haven't been fired.
Either one of us. That doesn't make sense. I was just gonna try and look and see if there was actually somewhere it's been posted. I know that DGN Live Talent. Here we go. Holy cow.
What?
Yeah, I knew it had. This was posted months ago,
wow.
And it was actually made very public that it was posted. It's out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour page. It's not
cool.
Exactly hidden. Des Moines. Yep. Brian Earhart. Green Mountain Championship shows Brian Earhart on the course, and then myself and Nate and Val. Same thing for MVP. And then the Tour Championship, also has me in the booth. So holy cow, it looks like I'm in the booth a lot for the next couple of weeks. And Silver Series special events, so on and so forth. This does not list it does list the World Championships. It currently shows me as on-course analysis, Ian Anderson in the booth, along with Nate Doss and Brian Earhart. The FPO shows Charlie Eisenhood, Val Jenkins, and Elaine King. So almost exact duplicate, except for last year, I believe, Hannah Mcbath was in the place of where Elaine King is. So that's what you have. Yeah, I'll post it. I'm going to post that on our page. Yes, Charlie's good. Stroking the hole card for slow play. Marshall gives a warning, then the hole card is responsible for speeding up play. I feel that's kind of similar to how golf has done it at one time or another.
I'd be okay with something like that.
Sure. It's funny because it still brings an awkwardness. What if, we'll play pretend here, the whole card is, they're behind, X amount of time to the next card. Marshall comes over and says, hey guys, I'm officially giving your entire card a warning for slow play. You guys are playing too slow. Next time I come over, if, with, I don't know, half hour from now, if you're still this far behind, you're considered playing too slowly and the whole card gets stroked. What happens when three guys play really fast and the fourth guy just takes forever? Or maybe plays normal speed, the three guys, and the fourth person continues to take forever. I mean, what are you supposed to do to that fourth person? Are you still able to individually stroke that person? Or are you just supposed to go over to their bag and be like, here's your disc, throw?
No, I don't
How does that work?
I don't like the idea of stroking an entire card.
Because what if it's literally one person?
I think that if a marshal is called over, he gives, in our play pretend world, marshal's called over because of slow play. They noticed whatever reason, comes over and warns the card. And then at that point, everybody on that card has a warning. The next time, if it continues, the marshal comes over and monitors who's actually doing slow play. And if you don't speed up when the marshal's there, you get a stroke individually. And at that point, look again. Who's the fastest player on tour?
On tour, Michael Johansson.
Michael Joe,
kind of on tour, yeah.
Michael Joe's on that card, and he gets stroked because we have a very slow player, or he gets warned because we have a very slow player on. When the marshal comes back, Michael Joe has a warning on him, whether he likes it or not, even if he's super fast. And if for whatever reason Michael Joe has to take a minute for a shot, it sucks. But and he gets penalized for that. That's too bad. Like, because Michael Joe had the opportunity in the first place to whoever was being slow, if it wasn't him, to warn that person and give them a stroke ahead of time. Because if you warn that person, it'd be interesting to say, if Michael Joe warns a slow player, the marshal then later comes over and says, cool, you're all getting a warning. Does that person who's already been warned then get a stroke? I don't know. It's something that we're going to have to work through and figure out, but I think we'll figure something out. I think over the next couple of years, you're going to see some shifts and changes in how this works out. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'll quickly just add on, because it was such a topic of conversation, obviously, last week or the last couple of weeks.
Gannon Burr was awesome.
Yeah, from what I saw, anytime I was anywhere near Gannon and his card, he was moving outside of the tee shot on the final round of hole one, where I felt like there was like 6 resets, and I'm sure if you timed it, it would have been over. Which just all I kept thinking is, oh, that's not a good start. That's not a good start. We're on hole one. We're on the tee of hole one.
Yep.
But seriously, I can't commend Gannon enough. Whatever steps he's taken personally to massively, and clearly his play hasn't suffered from it. In fact, I think he was even stated as saying, I feel like it's helped me. I just want to say hats off. Congrats. Please keep at it. And that goes to anyone. Very much appreciated, and
you can tell he's trying.
Yeah, clearly. And I've always felt like he does not. I don't feel like he's doing it intentionally. He just loses track of time. And again, intent isn't really the matter at this point. But much, much, much better. And I didn't see every shot of his this weekend, but what I did see was him moving at a very, very you wouldn't call it swift, but at a very normal pace. Average pace. Yeah. And that, in my book, checks out just fine. And the last thing I will quickly say, because it's also consumed so much of the internet in disc golf, I'm the first guy to say I'm usually, and maybe this comes from a very biased position because I'm often in the know. This time I feel like I'm still in the know. So maybe that's why it's easy for me to say this and be dismissive. But the amount of energy spent on people worrying about 2 grown-ass men being Brody and Paul, worrying about what their beef is, whose drama, whose fault it was, what grade of junior high we're in. And I know I sound a hair hypocritical in the fact that I talk and gossip and know of what's going on within the disc golf community. And I'm in a privileged / good spot to be there, and I'd like to think I'm respectful of all the players and the conversations, but by God, people, like the amount of posts this week from people that are so concerned about these two, like, now if something illegal has happened between the two of them, or truly like life-threatening or some other legitimate issue, and I get it, everybody's curious, I understand curiosity, I certainly do, but by God, the amount of threads started about the beef between Paul and Brody, and
Brody apologized for it on Twitter and said he's going to do better and be above the stuff, and that's great.
I don't even care how they're handling it. I'm now more surprised about the amount of adult men and women, usually it's men, that are so concerned.
I mean, it's
about it.
Fans, Terry. That's what these people are, is fans.
I get it.
And that's what you get that in any sport. If suddenly Devontae Adams was,
beefing with Aaron Rodgers,
like, they're on, he went to a different city. That's what all the gossip.
And I
be.
get it. It's the internet. So as soon
it's
as
not just
as
the
soon
internet,
as one thread dies, it's just like somebody else's. But. And that's like, wow.
It's what people tend to thrive on. I think it's somewhere in our DNA where you just
you have to know. I get it. And maybe I'd understand it more if I was more in the dark. I don't know. I just, man, so many grown ass adults wanting to know, to spill the tea about what their beef is. It's I don't know. Okay, that's what I'm going to say about it. I've managed to exactly chime in on zero of the threads. It's just like every other hot topic in the sense that you see one thread, it's got 392 comments. 2 minutes later, another thread starts. How much is just regurgitating? And thankfully, I just now I don't read any of them. I just try to keep on scrolling, but it's the amount of scrolling I have to do. All right.
Yeah, I don't. Whatever.
That's it. So in the after show, I'll tell you guys what happened between the two of them. Just kidding.
It was you. You got between them, didn't you?
Yes. I am in no way relevant in any of that. Yeah. We're gonna call it. It's been a long night. Thanks for joining us as always. Busy week over that Ledgestone with a ton of great things going on and champions crowned and recrowned and big checks written, and everybody, like we said, moves down I-80 to head over to Des Moines, and we wish everybody the best over there. It'll be fun to be in the booth making the calls this weekend. Johnny will be pressing the buttons, adding more delays to the sound.
I'm going to try like a 6
add like
delay.
another.
Like this,
totally
way off.
Way off. That would be good. But we appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you to our Smashies for tuning in. And
I'm just hoping I have a drivable car. I'll tell you about it like at the end of tomorrow. So we'll see what happens.
All of our Patreon subscribers and supporters, we love you guys even more. We appreciate. Thanks for sticking with us on a long night here. And looking forward to seeing you guys this weekend. For Johnny, I'm the disc golf guy. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.